Chapter 390. Sister. Bai Luo retreated to Shisheng's side and asked in a low voice, "Do you really have an invitation? Why don't you use mine?" With so many people watching, it would be embarrassing if she couldn't produce an invitation. Mind your own business. The female lead's habit of meddling in other people's business was a common one. Bai Luo lowered her gaze to hide the sadness in her eyes. The people around them didn't move. They seemed to be waiting for Shisheng to see if she had an invitation. She had a chance to show off. If she didn't, she would be letting them down. Shisheng slowly took out an invitation and placed it on the table next to him. He tapped on it with his finger to remind the person checking it. "Look carefully." The person smiled and nodded. He opened the invitation and looked at it. Then he took out the name list and saw Wu Zheng at the end. "Miss Wu Zheng, please come in." This proved that the invitation in her hand was real. How was this possible? Why would Mingyue Mountain Villa send her an invitation? Everyone was confused. Lu Su was even more confused. This matter became a hot topic in the following days. However, Mingyue Mountain Villa didn't give a clear explanation. Some people who were close to Mingyue Mountain found out. Shisheng and Xin Xinghai knew each other. Xin Xinghai was the younger brother of the current alliance master. He was also a popular candidate for the next alliance master. Since when did these two people hook up? It was a long story. Shisheng met Xin Xinghai on the way to Mingyue Mountain Villa. Xin Xinghai was quite unlucky. He was drugged and lost all his martial arts. Shisheng just wanted to find someone to test the poison she made. In the end, he bumped into Xin Xinghai, who was lying on the side of the road. Shisheng saw that he was still breathing and carried him back to test the poison. Xin Xinghai was tortured until he was on his last breath. Shisheng kindly found a doctor for him. Don't ask why Shisheng was so kind. It was probably because he was in a good mood. In the end, Xin Xinghai thought that Shisheng had saved him. No matter how Shisheng tried to explain herself, she'd only wanted to use him to test out the poison. She'd wanted to kill him, and he'd only survived because he was lucky. But Xin Xinghai refused to listen, insisting that Shisheng had saved him. She heard that Shisheng was going to Mingyue Mountain Villa, and even gave her an invitation. The Shisheng couldn't do anything about this kind of self-hypnosis. Xin Xinghai was never mentioned in the plot, so he probably had nothing to do with the male and female leads. Shisheng stayed in the villa, but Xin Xinghai didn't seem to be there. Anyway, Shisheng didn't see him, but rumors about him and Xin Xinghai started to spread. To sum it up in a few words, they were having an affair. Shisheng was speechless. Could anyone have an affair with her? Young Master Fu is really good to Miss Lu. Yesterday Miss Lu only coughed a few times and young Master Fu was so nervous that he asked us to call a doctor. Young Master Fu is also so handsome. I'm so lucky to be able to marry young Master Fu. If young Master Fu takes a fancy to me, I'm even willing to be a nun in my next life. In your dreams, young Master Fu already has Miss Lu by his side. There's no place for anyone else. Several servant maids walked past Bai Luo, their laughter and banter seemingly taking root in her ears, unable to be erased no matter what she did. Bai Luo walked forward in a daze. Suddenly, she kicked an object. She slowly looked down. It was an embroidered pouch. She didn't know who dropped it here. Bai Luo picked it up. She wanted to bring it to the villa's steward, but after walking around in circles, she ended up back where she started. She sat down beside the pond dejectedly. Little sister Xiaoluo. Bai Luo looked up and saw a woman in a light yellow dress walking towards her with a smile on her face. By the time Shisheng heard the news that Bai Luo had almost died in the water, it was already evening. If one of the servant maids hadn't gone back to look for the pouch, Bai Luo would have probably drowned in the pond. Miss Bai's fever hasn't subsided. The doctor said that if it doesn't subside soon, she'll be in danger. One of the servant maids serving Shisheng told him the latest news. Apparently, this servant maids had been sent by Xin Xinghai to serve her. Shisheng ate his porridge without a change in expression. How did she fall in? I don't know. No one saw. If little Z hadn't gone back to look for the embroidered pouch, she would have. The servant maids didn't continue. Shisheng put down his bowl. How could the favored female lead die so easily? Miss, aren't you eating? The servant maids asked quietly when she saw that Shisheng only had one bowl of porridge. Is the porridge not to your liking? The second young master had said that they had to serve this miss well. If anything happened, they couldn't bear the consequences. It's fine. Shisheng wiped his mouth and stood up. The Alliance head meeting will start tomorrow, right? Yes, it will officially start tomorrow. The servant maids packed up with a frown. The food must have been to her liking. She would have the kitchen change the taste tomorrow. After the servant maids finished packing, she left the room. On the way to the kitchen, she met a few other maids. They pulled her aside and asked her carefully, "Is Miss Wu Zheng very hard to serve? She has a bad reputation in the Jianghu. Little Kai, you have to be careful." Little Kai smiled. Miss Wu Zheng has a good temper. Ever since she entered to serve her, she had never seen her lose her temper. She could even chat with her occasionally. She was a very easy person to get along with. She didn't know why people said that she was vicious and merciless. Is that so? The maids clearly didn't believe her. Little Kai nodded. I'm going to do something first. Let's chat again when I have time. Little Kai, be careful. The others were still worried. When Little Kai returned to the room, Shisheng was already lying on the rocking chair with his eyes closed. She didn't know if he was asleep or just resting. Little Kai didn't dare disturb him and quietly left. She really didn't think that this miss was as scary as people said. The next day, Shisheng woke up very early. After breakfast, Little Kai took him to the arena. There were 3 arenas in total. The competition would be held in the ring. In this kind of competition, most people would conserve their energy and fight until the end. Therefore, there wasn't much to see in the early stages. Because of Shen Xinghai, Shisheng easily sat in the same row as the current alliance head, Shen Xingyang. Shen Xinghai was an old man, and was more than 20 years older than his older brother, Shen Xingyang. The two of them looked somewhat similar, but Shen Xingyang was more masculine and burly. He sized up Shisheng curiously. Shisheng was sitting with his legs crossed and eating sunflower seeds. Sensing Shen Xingyang's gaze, he glanced sideways. Their gazes met in the air. Shen Xingyang nodded and switched seats with the person next to him. Miss Wu Zheng saved my younger brother. I've been so busy these past few days that I didn't have time to personally thank you. Shisheng. I already said that I didn't intend to save him. Shisheng threw away the sunflower seeds in his hand. Alliance head Shen, I didn't save second young master Shen. Really, believe me. I wanted to kill him at that time. Shen Xingyang was unmoved and continued smiling. Miss Wu Zheng is a little different from the rumors. Those rumors were mostly false. They were similar to the rumors spread by that idiot Jiang Zhan. But what she said was true. Shen Xinghai, how did you brainwash your older brother? Asterisk thank you to the cherub who tipped me, please vote, please vote. Chapter 391. Shen Xingyang said that he would treat Shisheng to a meal after today. Shisheng looked up at the sky in despair. She reckoned she'd have to kill Shen Xinghai in front of Shen Xingyang for him to believe that she'd really wanted to kill him back then. But Shen Xinghai wasn't here, so she couldn't carry out this plan. Shen Xingyang was a busy man, so he naturally wouldn't chat with Shisheng. He quickly sat back down. But the others had different thoughts. There were already rumors that she had an affair with Shen Xinghai. Now that they saw Shen Xinghai's brother chatting happily with her, wasn't this just confirming the rumors? For a moment, Shisheng's attention was much higher than the arena. Shisheng was speechless at this group of people. He felt that they had walked into the wrong theater. This is a King sadistic novel. What's wrong with you idiots? Is there a novel with a funny style next door? This is a series of novels. The other male lead is Shen Xinghai. It's a pampering novel. It doesn't break the character setting. The system considerately explained. Shisheng. No wonder Shen Xinghai didn't die even after so much torture. Damn, the male lead died for nothing. System, your ability to fix bugs is getting more and more awesome. Thank you for the compliment. Asterisk flips table asterisk who the F asterisk CK is praising you? Your master's face is completely ruined by you. Can there be 4 protagonists in the same world? The system didn't answer Shisheng. It was probably afraid that she would try to get information out of it. Shisheng secretly wondered what would happen if she killed Shen Xinghai in this world. Host, don't have such dangerous thoughts. The system felt tired. It really didn't want to serve this host. Didn't you go offline? Why did you pop up again? I was afraid that you would go the wrong way. Was it easy? Where did Shen Xinghai go? Because you forcefully picked him up, you missed him meeting the female lead. Now he's going to meet the female lead. Shisheng. It's my fault again. Who knew that she would be so lucky that she could pick up another male lead so casually? Okay, it was her fault. She shouldn't have picked up the female lead's things. Who was the female lead? The system didn't say anything. It didn't dare to say that. What if the host didn't know what to do and rushed up to get rid of the other female lead? The system didn't answer her. Shisheng shook his head and didn't care about it anymore. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't. Without the plot and memories, who the hell knew who the female lead was? By the end of the first day's competition, none of the most promising candidates had gone up on stage. Fu Yun didn't even show his face. Shisheng went back the way he came. When he passed by a courtyard, he saw many people gathered outside. Shisheng looked inside curiously, but there were too many people in the way. He couldn't see what was going on inside. Miss, wait a moment. I'll go ask. Little Kai was very perceptive. Xiao Kai's popularity was not bad. When she went over, someone told her what had happened. She jogged back with a strange expression. Miss Bai and Miss Lu quarreled. Miss Bai said that Miss Lu pushed her into the pond. Oh, that was quick. Who's Fu Yin helping? Little Kai shook her head. They were outside, so no one knew what was going on inside. Shisheng raised his brows slightly. It's starting TSK. About 3 to 4 minutes later, Fu Yun came out with Lu Su. Lu Su softly advised Fu Yun. Fu Yun's expression wasn't too good, but he patiently listened to Lu Su. If it weren't for Bai Luo, Fu Yun would really be a good man. Yun Gij, little sister Shaluo is just muddle-headed from her illness. Don't be angry. When she recovers, we'll talk to her. Lu Su and Fu Yun passed by Shisheng not far away, and Shisheng heard every word Lu Su said. What do you think of this woman? Shisheng asked Little Kai. Little Kai lowered her head, her attitude respectful. Miss, this servant doesn't dare to casually talk about guests. Stay away from this kind of woman in the future. Who knew when she'd fall into a trap? Little Kai was slightly surprised. This Miss Lu had a good personality. Everyone praised her and envied her. Why would Miss Wu Zheng say that? That night, Shisheng was invited to dinner by Shen Xingyang. Shisheng was in charge of eating the entire time, so he only replied politely to Shen Xingyang. Shen Xingyang didn't make things difficult for her, and had someone send her back after dinner. The next few days were the single elimination matches. One by one, more people went up, and more people were eliminated. Ever since that day, Bai Luo's illness had been dragging on. On the last day of the single elimination matches, Shen Xinghai still hadn't returned. He definitely wasn't fated to become the alliance head. Fu Yun stayed behind, elegantly and handsomely taking care of the others. No one else dared to challenge him. Is there anyone else who wants to come up? The host shouted with all his might. The audience was silent. Since there are no more challengers, Sir Fu and Alliance Head Shen will spar tomorrow to choose the next alliance head. If no one has any objections, please come early tomorrow. That's right. Winning the single elimination matches wasn't enough. They still had to fight the current alliance head and defeat him. Wait a moment. This shout successfully attracted everyone's attention. Shisheng was sitting higher up, so he immediately saw a black figure walking over from behind the crowd. What are you blocking the way for? Move aside. Can't you see I's size? Shisheng face-bombed. This villain who kneels in front of everyone. Can you please be a little more pretentious? Look at the others. They either flew out or took the initiative to make way for them. You even have to make people move aside manually. Jiang Zhan rushed over from somewhere. His clothes were dirty, and a round puppy followed behind him. Its short tail wagged from side to side, looking very adorable. This puppy seemed to be the one Jiang Zhan brought with him when he challenged Fu Yin to a duel, right? How come it's still so small after a few months? Jiang Zhan jumped off the stage. The puppy couldn't jump up, so it barked at Jiang Zhan. Jiang Zhan jumped down again and picked it up. The audience. Was this idiot here to be funny? Sect Master Jiang, may I ask why you're here? Shen Xingyang was the alliance head. Now that the great demon had arrived, he could only stand up and speak to Jiang Zhan as a representative. Jiang Zhan stroked the puppy. Of course I'm here to take revenge for last time. If Sect Master Jiang has any grudges with Sir Fu, please settle them privately. Today we're here to fight. Jiang Zhan immediately changed his tune. Then I'll fight. Shen Xingyang. Sect Master Jiang, this is a martial arts alliance head selection. How can you fight? A few bolder people shouted up. I think Sect Master Jiang should go back and get married. Don't you think so, everyone? Ha ha. The crowd below roared with laughter, all talking about Jiang Zhan's appearance. A grown man actually looked like a woman. Jiang Zhan was already immune to others talking about his appearance, but that didn't mean he wouldn't take action. Those who laughed the loudest only felt a gust of wind blow past them, and their bodies turned cold. Ah! A woman in the crowd suddenly shrieked. Those people looked down and saw that their bodies were actually naked. They clamped their butts together and covered their private parts, glaring at Jiang Zhan with flushed faces. Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 392. Shisheng couldn't bear to look and averted his gaze. She didn't want to see this sect master's style at all. It was simply dirtying her eyes. Are you fighting or not? Jiang Zhan ignored the screams below the stage and pointed Scarlet Heaven at Fu Yun. The snow-white puppy was circling around his feet, occasionally playing with his clothes in its mouth. It should have been a domineering scene, but because of this puppy, it was no longer a joke. Fu Yun looked coldly at Jiang Zhan, neither accepting nor refusing. With Jiang Zhan's temper, he simply took it as Fu Yun's answer and charged over with Scarlet Heaven. The puppy was flipped over on the ground and whimpered twice, protesting its owner's violent behavior. Shisheng had already predicted that Jiang Zhan would be slapped in the face. What an embarrassment to her. As expected, in less than 20 moves, Jiang Zhan was sent flying off the stage by Fu Yun, cutting a sorry figure. The people below the stage were also very confused. Wasn't this villain invincible? How did he die so easily? They could still understand last time since he and Wu Zheng had attacked first, but this time, Fu Yun was clearly at a disadvantage. Several people immediately surrounded Jiang Zhan. Demon Jiang, let's see how you run this time. Jiang Zhan's expression contorted. Then he suddenly roared at Shisheng, Sect Master, save me. Shisheng. Hallucinations, I must be hallucinating. Who are you calling Sect Master? Demon Jiang, don't disturb us. Jiang Zhan pointed at Shisheng. She's our demon sect's new sect master. Shisheng. Lord Villain, are you trying to trick your own teammates? I was just watching a show. Who did I offend? Everyone's gazes towards Shisheng immediately turned strange. Most of them were sizing him up in confusion. Was this a dog-eat-dog situation? For the sake of survival, he didn't even want the sect master's throne. Miss Wu Zheng? Give me an explanation. Shen Xingyang looked at Shisheng. Shisheng slowly stood up and jumped off the stage, roughly shoving aside the people surrounding Jiang Zhan. Everyone immediately drew their weapons. They didn't even have time to say their lines. Shisheng held Jiang Zhan down and gave him a good beating. Wu Zheng, you lunatic. Now is the time for us to unite against the outside world. Why did you slap me? Jiang Zhan sucked in a breath of cold air. It hurt so much. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Shisheng scolded as he whipped her. He had never seen such a stupid villain. The stupidest person in history. Has your IQ been eaten by that little puppy of yours? What the F***ck? After finishing the Shisheng, he turned his iron sword and pointed it at the people who were about to surround him. What? You want to kill me? Miss Wu Zheng, leave Jiang Zhan to us. Shisheng said arrogantly. I would rather chop up Ai's men and feed them to the dogs than give them to you. Chop them up and feed them to the dogs. The puppy wagged its tail happily in the arena, as if it was looking forward to the taste of its owner. Jiang Zhan crossed his arms and glared at Shisheng angrily. This woman actually wanted to chop him up and feed him to the dogs. The saying that a woman's heart was the most vicious was not wrong at all. Wu Zheng, you really are in cahoots with the demon sect. Her words were undoubtedly admitting what Jiang Zhan had said. No matter how she made Jiang Zhan give up the position of sect leader, she was now a member of the demon sect and a target of their encirclement. Don't make it sound so bad. I'm leading the demon sect to become rich. Pfft, leading the demon sect to become rich? Was there something wrong with her? Fine, I won't waste my breath with you. If you want to kill me, just come at me. So much nonsense. You've already made a child. Everyone looked at each other. This Wu Zheng was really arrogant and conceited. Shi Xingyang didn't say anything. The people around him were discussing fervently. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore and jumped out. Today, I'll see what kind of heaven-defying abilities Grandma Yao's disciple has. Can you do it? Jiang Zhan asked doubtfully. Shi Sheng was annoyed. If I can't do it, you'll do it? Jiang Zhan exploded. Fine, I'll do it. He was a man. Did he need a woman to stand in front of him? It was obvious that Jiang Zhan had completely forgotten who had tricked Shi Sheng into coming here. Shi Sheng's mouth twitched. Fine, don't cause trouble for I. Take your puppy and stand further away. Swords have no eyes. Shi Sheng held her wrist with her left hand and spun it a few times. The iron sword stirred in the air. She looked at the person opposite her with a sinister expression. That person felt his scalp go numb. His chest rose and fell rapidly as he screamed and rushed out. Ah! He sprinted toward Shi Sheng. The people around them all retreated and made way for him. Shi Sheng stood still and watched the person charge over quietly. Everyone couldn't help but hold their breaths. Just when the person was half a meter away from Shi Sheng, she quickly raised her arm. Poochie! The sharp weapon pierced through flesh. The person froze in his tracks and looked at Shi Sheng in disbelief. The light in his eyes was slowly fading. One move, how could this be? Shi Sheng smiled and pulled out his sword. Then he kicked the person. When the person fell to the ground, he was already dead. The person on the other side quickly checked and pointed at Shi Sheng angrily. Demoness, you cheated. How did I cheat? Shi Sheng raised her eyebrows. I didn't even know that I cheated. How could you tell that I cheated? Amazing. You didn't take out your weapon earlier. If you didn't cheat, then what did you do? Shi Sheng sneered. Her sarcastic voice echoed throughout the room. It's my own business whether I take out my weapon or not. How can you blame others for being too powerful when you're so stupid? That person's face darkened. Was this woman calling him stupid in a roundabout way? Everyone, let's kill this demoness and the devil. Kill. Jiang Zhan, who was innocently implicated, was speechless. Why did she include him in this? The scene instantly became chaotic. A group of people surrounded Shi Sheng and Jiang Zhan. Shi Sheng's iron sword could kill a row of people with a single sweep. After witnessing the power of the iron sword, those who were afraid of death went to surround Jiang Zhan. Only those who coveted the iron sword attacked Shi Sheng. But they often fell under the iron sword before they could even touch the iron sword. The afterglow of the setting sun dyed the area blood red. The ground was stained with blood, and the shadows of swords and knives flew everywhere. Shi Sheng's expression didn't change from beginning to end. It was as if she wasn't killing people, but lifeless plants. With a single swing of her sword, she cut down a row. Jiang Zhan was somewhat exhausted. A person's stamina was limited, after all. But when he saw how relaxed Shi Sheng was, he gritted his teeth and continued to swing his sword. He couldn't lose to a woman. Perhaps because Shi Sheng had killed too many people, Fu Yun and Shen Xingyang finally joined the battle. Shi Sheng suddenly aimed at Fu Yun and attacked him. Fu Yun clearly didn't know why she liked him so much. There were so many people around, but she still wouldn't let him go. Shi Sheng knew that he couldn't kill Fu Yun, but it would be good if he could cripple him. Each strike was more ruthless than the last. Fu Yun was a bit overwhelmed. If not for Shen Xingyang's help, he suspected that he would have been cut down several times already. This woman's internal energy wasn't very strong. What was powerful was the sword in her hand. Normal weapons could be broken with a single slash, as if she were cutting a carrot. Asterisk little fairy. Does killing feel good? Shi Sheng. Little fairy. Why aren't you saying anything? Shi Sheng. Cutting fruits isn't fun. Passers-by. Who are you calling a fruit? Fight me one-on-one if you dare. Shisheng. Cutting carrots isn't fun. Chapter 393. Bam. Fu Yiyun fell from the sky and crashed into the arena, his white robe stained red with blood. The stench of blood in the air was so thick that it was nauseating. Shisheng spun around and landed on the ground. Her skirt was like a blooming flower. Her sword was stained with blood. Drops of blood dripped onto the arena, and soon formed a small pool of blood. Wu Zheng. Fu Yiyun clutched his chest and looked up at the woman standing in front of him. Her head was slightly lowered, as if she was looking at him, but he couldn't see himself in her eyes. It was as if she was looking at an object, a lifeless object. Everything around her seemed to fade into the background, as if she was the only ruler of this world. Fu Yiyun was shocked by this thought. He didn't know why he would have such a thought. Wu Zheng, do you want to make an enemy out of the entire martial arts world? The people below the arena shouted, trying to attract her attention and save Fu Yiyun. Shisheng naturally didn't give them the chance. The moment that person finished speaking, her iron sword had already sunk into Fu Yiyun's chest. The blade spun 360 degrees around his chest, causing Fu Yiyun's face to turn deathly pale. Dark red blood seeped through his white robes and quickly dyed his chest crimson. Shisheng pulled out her sword and prepared to stab again. But the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind her. She turned around and swung her iron sword wildly. Countless tiny silver needles hit the iron sword and fell around her. By the time Shisheng finished dealing with the needles and looked back at the ground, Fu Yiyun had already been taken away. Only the bloodstains on the ground showed that someone had been here just now. These people probably knew that they couldn't beat Shisheng, so they began to retreat. Jiang Zhan looked at the retreating people and leaned tiredly against the arena. His hands were so sore that he couldn't even lift them. Wu Zheng, are you made of iron? He turned to ask the woman standing in the arena. Her face wasn't red, and she wasn't panting. She even stood so straight, as if she wasn't the one fighting just now. Shisheng jumped down from the arena. His legs were weak, so he used his iron sword to prop himself up and put on the air of an expert. How can these stupid mortals compare to my realm? Poser Sheng was online. TSK. Jiang Zhan gave Shisheng a disdainful look before reminding him, let's leave quickly. Otherwise, those people will come back. Shisheng held the iron sword and did not move. As expected, he had used up a lot of energy and needed to rest. Jiang Zhan had already stood up. Seeing that Shisheng didn't move, he urged, crazy woman, let's go. Do you still want to fight with them? I'm telling you, I don't have that much energy. Shisheng glared at him fiercely. Why are you rushing me? If it wasn't for you, would I have fought them? Jiang Zhan choked. After a while he said dryly, let's go through hardships together. Who told you to steal I's sect master? Moreover, how did he know that she would start a fight at the slightest disagreement? Shisheng rested for about 5 minutes before he pulled out his iron sword and left. Jiang Zhan hurriedly followed. After leaving Mingyue Villa, Shisheng randomly chose a direction to walk in. When she came across a small stream, she stopped and directly jumped in to wash herself with her clothes. Her clothes were stained with blood, and the bright red blood flowed into the distance along the stream. After washing herself clean, she went ashore, squeezed out the remaining inner energy in her body, and dried her clothes. Jiang Zhan squatted by the stream and washed his puppy. Shisheng looked at the puppy in confusion. Where did he shove it in just now? The puppy flopped about in the water, splashing Jiang Zhan's face. This idiot. That chaotic battle was called the First Battle of the Chaotic Jianghu era by the people later on. Shisheng left unharmed, while the righteous sects lost more than half of their members. Even Fu Yiyun was heavily injured. Yiyun Gij, drink your medicine. Lu Su sat by the bed with the pills in her hands, her voice gentle. Fu Yiyun leaned against the bed. When he saw Lu Su, his frosty expression softened slightly. He smiled. Don't you have servants? Why did you personally come to deliver the medicine? Lu Su's face was slightly red, looking a bit shy. Suer wants to personally take care of Yiyun Gij. It's been hard on you these past few days. Fu Yiyun took Lu Su's hand. It's not hard at all. Suer feels very blessed. Lu Su smiled gently. Yiyun Gij, drink your medicine. It's cold. A trace of gentleness flashed through Fu Yun's eyes as he took the bowl and drank the medicine. Lu Su stayed with Fu Yun for a while before leaving the room. She hadn't gone far when she heard Shen Xingyang talking to Fu Yun's physician. Her figure flashed, and she hid in the shadows. Although Sir Fu's poison was cured last time, there are still some remnants. Now that he's so heavily injured, it'll be difficult for him to recover. The physician's voice was grave. Shen Xingyang said in a low voice, "What methods do you have? Just tell me." He and Fu Yun's father were old friends. Now that his son had gotten into such a big accident here, he couldn't let him suffer any sequelae. "I need several medicinal ingredients." The physician listed several names, many of which Shen Xingyang had never heard of before. Medicinal ingredients alone aren't enough. We also need golden sand. I've only heard that Granny Medicine had it. Since she passed away, it should be in the hands of her disciple, Wu Zheng. What's golden sand? Fu Yun's injuries were caused by Wu Zheng, so she definitely wouldn't take it out. Thinking of that woman, Shen Xingyang sighed inwardly. Now that such a big thing had happened, those people would probably blame it on him. It's a type of bug, because the place where it's raised requires sand ground from gold. It's named golden sand. Lu Su didn't continue listening, and left with an unsightly expression. She didn't see Bai Luo standing on the other side with a complicated expression. One major event after another happened in the Jianghu. The demon sect had a new leader, and the new leader was the famous demoness Wu Zheng. Demoness Wu Zheng had caused havoc at the Alliance Head Assembly and started a massacre, causing the deaths of many heroes in the Jianghu. The entire Jianghu was in turmoil. The war between the righteous and evil factions had officially begun. The demon sect, led by the recently risen Blood Kill sect, didn't make any moves. It was as if they weren't the ones who had started this war. Shi Sheng was currently supervising the repairs, so how could he have the time to care about what the people outside were doing? Guyu was standing on the roof, absorbing the essence of the sun and moon. Steward Ting Feng took care of everything, both big and small. He was as tired as a dog. Shisheng looked up at Guyu, who was dazzled by the sunlight. Is this guy really going to turn into a demon? Sect leader, why don't you ask Guyu to help me? Ting Feng complained in Shisheng's ear. Look, I'm in charge of the repairs, and I have to take care of everyone's daily needs. I wish I could split myself into two. He doesn't even listen to your former sect leader, so how can he listen to me? The former sect leader, Jiang Zhan, was walking his dog when he heard Shisheng calling him out. He scampered over. Fight with him. If you win, don't talk about having him do things for you, he'll even warm your bed for you. Shisheng gave Jiang Zhan an odd look. So you can't even beat your family's enforcer? Sect leader, you're amazing. Where did you get the confidence to challenge Fu Yun? Do you really think you're as amazing as the rumors say? Jiang Zhan's expression stiffened. He turned to the puppy on the ground. Let's go, little Zhengzi. Let's go over there. Shisheng narrowed his eyes and reached out to grab Jiang Zhan's collar. What did you call it just now? Asterisk pleading for votes T-TME school tickets are getting fewer and fewer. Woo-woo, my heart hurts. Chapter 394. The disciples of the Devil sect witnessed the scene of their former sect master being taught a lesson by the current sect master. It was very violent and bloody, not suitable for children. Jiang Zhan refused to accept it and scolded Shisheng loudly. In the end, he was beaten until he had no more energy to scold. Shisheng and Guyu fought. Just as Jiang Zhan said, after the fight, Guyu obeyed Shisheng's every word and hit wherever Shisheng told him to. She even hit Jiang Zhan. If Shisheng had known this protector was so useful, he would have beaten him up earlier. Sect master, it's not good. A disciple ran in from outside. What's not good? Shisheng asked calmly. The disciple gasped for breath and said quickly, Sect Master Jiang took a few people down the mountain. So what? What does it have to do with me? If he went down the mountain, did he have to be his bodyguard? But, the disciple said weakly, Sect Master Jiang took away the left and right protectors. What the hell? He took away both of her left and right protectors? Villain, are you going to rebel? Why did they go down the mountain? The disciple shook his head. No one knew why Jiangzhan went down the mountain. They only knew that they had been gathering together and whispering to each other for the past few days. Shisheng was so angry that he stopped repairing the house and went down the mountain to chase after Jiangzhan. Jiangzhan took a lot of people with him. The devil sect had more than 100 people, but he only took a dozen people with him. With such a large group, it was easy for Shisheng to ask them which direction they had gone. Sect Master, this seems to be the direction back to Mount D. The disciple who followed Shisheng down the mountain said doubtfully. Mount D. Why did Jiangzhan go back to the devil sect's former headquarters? Shisheng found many people were rushing in this direction. Shisheng didn't hide, and some people recognized him. They couldn't escape from a chaotic battle. When Shisheng fought all the way to Mount D, many people had already gathered at the foot of the mountain. What's going on? Holding a meeting at the devil sect's former site? Shisheng sent people to look for Jiangzhan separately. Jiangzhan wasn't hard to find since the devil sect had a special way to contact them. They were in a relatively remote place. Jiangzhan was obviously surprised to see Shisheng come looking for him. His expression changed several times before he finally yelled fiercely. What are you doing here? Shisheng sneered. What am I here for? You have the nerve to ask me. What do you mean by abducting my protector? What do you mean by your protector? This is my protector. Jiangzhan was unconvinced. Now the entire devil cult is mine. Jiangzhan's face was flushed red, and he was so angry that he couldn't speak. Speak. What are you doing here? What are those people doing outside? Shisheng's gaze swept over Tingfeng and Guyu. Guyu did not speak with a cold face. Tingfeng glanced at Jiangzhan. Jiangzhan glared at him, causing him to shrink back. These people want to dig up our ancestral graves, he whispered. Shisheng, are you kidding? Now the whole Jianghu was fighting. These people had nothing better to do but come to dig up the ancestral graves of the devil sect. Would they be able to kill off all the people of the devil sect? Is your family's ancestral tomb that powerful? It's true. Seeing that Shisheng didn't believe him, Tingfeng emphasized. This has nothing to do with you. Take them back. Jiangzhan looked at Shisheng. I'll leave the devil sect to you from now on. You're crazy. Shisheng rolled his eyes. The devil sect was hers to begin with. Jiangzhan's hair stood on end. Wuzheng, don't think I don't dare hit you. Can you beat me? Shisheng's smile was a bit infuriating. Jiangzhan's face flushed red again. Shisheng ignored Jiangzhan and analyzed. They can't be here for the ancestral graves. They must be here for something else. Jiangzhan snorted. You're the best. Yes, I'm better than you. What kind of sect leader is he if he can't even beat his own protector? Shisheng retorted mercilessly. She even dared to hit Feng Xi, much less someone who wasn't even Feng Xi. Jiangzhan. That's enough. Shisheng picked two of the smarter ones and had them blend into the crowd to listen to what they had to say. The others rested where they were. What puzzled Shisheng was that most of the people in the crowd didn't know what they were here for. They just followed their leaders. But those leaders clearly weren't easy to approach. What good stuff does the devil sect have? Shisheng asked Jiangzhan, who was playing with his dog. You didn't even forget to bring your dog here. Impressive, my sect leader. What good stuff could there be? Jiangzhan replied in a huff. Back then they burned it all. What else could there be? Mount D was very tall, but from below, they could see a pitch-black mountain wall. It was probably the devil sect's former buildings. Shisheng shook his head. He didn't want to talk to an idiot. Keep an eye on him. Don't let him run around. Shisheng ordered Tingfeng and Guyu. If he runs, you two will be punished together. Wuzheng. Jiangzhan stood up angrily. I told you to go back. Why is a woman like you getting involved? Shisheng thought it would be better to tie him up. Not only was he impulsive, he was also weak. If it weren't for the devil sect's former reputation, how could he have become a villain? In the end, Jiangzhan was tied up and gagged. It was much quieter this way. Shisheng circled around the back of those people and approached them from the side. There was a forest below Mount D, which provided Shisheng with an excellent cover. What are we doing here? I don't know. This used to be the devil sect's headquarters. Is there something here? Didn't the devil sect burn it all down back then? Are you stupid? What's up here? What's down here? Didn't you see that the Heaven's Secret sect, which specializes in mechanisms, is here? What is it that's worth such a big fuss? I don't know. We'll know once we get in. Don't worry. Most of the people had similar guesses. They didn't know what they were here for. Shisheng listened for a while, and prepared to approach those people who seemed to be higher-ups. Just as she was about to jump down from the tree, she heard footsteps in the distance. Shisheng immediately restrained his aura. Two figures appeared in front of Shisheng. One of them was someone she knew. Lu Su. She didn't know the other man, but he looked quite handsome. However, there was a sinister look in his eyes. He didn't give off a good feeling. The two of them looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, Lu Su lowered her voice. Her tone was cautious and full of admiration. He's very vigilant. I can't get it for now. This man should be the person behind Lu Su. In the original plot, Lu Su had always been helping this man. The man placed his palm on Lu Su's shoulder and slowly slid it down to her neck. He closed his fingers and said in a hoarse voice, I think you can't bear to do it, right? Lu Su shook her head with a pale face. No. Then why didn't you poison him? The man asked coldly. You can't bear to see your old lover, right? No. I poisoned him, but I don't know what he ate before. The poison didn't work. Lu Su shook her head and held the man's hand with both hands. She leaned towards the man and whispered, Master, I like you. I'm only loyal to you. Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 395. The man seemed pleased and let go of Lu Su's neck. You better not lie to me. I wouldn't dare. Lu Su whispered. The man lifted her chin and kissed her without the slightest hint of gentleness. By the time the man let go of Lu Su, her face was flushed red and she looked at the man with seductive eyes. After you help me do this, I'll marry you. The man ignored Lu Su's hint and handed her a porcelain bottle. Be good. Don't ever do anything that makes me unhappy. Lu Su took the bottle. Yes. The man quickly left. Lu Su held the bottle for a moment before leaving as well. Shisheng remembered that Lu Su had also poisoned Fu Yiyun in the original plot. This scene was the climax of the novel. That poison was especially potent and had no antidote. Fu Yiyun survived because the female lead and Fu Yiyun exchanged blood. However, the female lead had become an ugly woman because of this. In ancient times, blood exchange didn't take blood type into consideration. She was more curious about how the exchange took place. Shisheng discovered that Fu Yiyun was also there. Lu Su pretended that nothing had happened and returned to Fu Yiyun's side. The two of them were in a very intimate position. Since they were too far away, he couldn't hear what they were saying. The leaders stood at the very front and spoke very softly. Even with internal energy, he couldn't hear what they were saying. Shisheng circled around a few times before returning the way he came. The demon sect members had hunted a rabbit from somewhere and were roasting it. These people really weren't nervous at all. They were facing away from the other side, so they couldn't see the situation if they didn't turn around. Shisheng allowed them to roast the rabbit. Wowu. Jiang Zhan, who was tied up like a dumpling, immediately began to struggle when he saw Shisheng return. Shisheng walked over and untied him. Pa. Wu Zheng, you dare tie me up? Ow. What are you doing? Jiang Zhan clutched his arm and backed away. Shisheng's expression was calm. I'll prove it to you. Not only do I dare to tie you up, I dare to strangle you too. Jiang Zhan. This lunatic. He was so despicable when he was young, and he's still so despicable now that he's grown up. Sect Master, eat. Ting Feng handed the roasted meat to Shisheng. Jiang Zhan exploded. Ting Feng, I's your sect master. Ting Feng hurriedly passed a rabbit leg to Jiang Zhan. Shisheng. This idiot. The people on the other side didn't move until the sky turned dark. It was a dark and windy night. Jiang Zhan slowly opened his eyes and nudged Ting Feng and Guyu, who were sleeping beside him. Both of them were light sleepers, so they woke up easily. Jiang Zhan raised his index finger to his lips, indicating for them not to make a sound. Shisheng leaned against a tree trunk in the distance with her head tilted to the other side. Jiang Zhan observed her for a while. After making sure that her breathing was steady and she was asleep, he slowly got up and carefully moved outside. Ting Feng and Guyu looked at each other and followed carefully. The three of them moved to the periphery and quickly disappeared into the darkness. Shixing moved his head and turned around. His eyes were wide open as he stared in the direction where they had disappeared. After a few minutes, he closed his eyes. The next day, the group of cult members discovered that the former cult leader and the two protectors had disappeared. Only the puppy was left. The group of people was very nervous. Who would have thought that the current cult leader wasn't nervous at all? He even told them to pack up and return home. Cult leader? We're leaving just like that? The former cult leader and protectors were both gone. Weren't they going to look for them? Or are we going to throw our lives away? Shixing asked expressionlessly. Since Jiang Zhan wanted to show off so much, then she'd let him go. It had nothing to do with her. Although the group was somewhat unwilling, they didn't dare to say anything after Shixing's violent threats. They packed up and left. Jiang Zhan climbed up MTD that very night. The place where the building used to be was now in ruins. He searched for a long time before finding the entrance to the underground palace. Ting Feng and Guyu were silent after entering the palace. The faint light illuminated their solemn expressions. The underground palace was divided into several levels. Jiang Zhan went all the way down and stopped at the last level. Cult leader, did the people outside come here? Ting Feng couldn't help but ask. Jiang Zhan looked at the rows of memorial tablets in front of him. The tablets enshrined the cult's past cult leaders and cult members. He walked to the front and bowed to one of the tablets. They're looking for treasure. Jiang Zhan's eyes were cold as he turned around. Do you know about the treasure map that's been circulating in the previous dynasty? Ting Feng nodded. The previous dynasty had been destroyed for almost 300 years, but rumors about the treasure left behind by the previous dynasty had been circulating in the Jianghu. Rumor had it that one could find the treasure as long as they found the treasure map. However, no one had ever found the treasure map. In Ting Feng's eyes, the treasure was nothing more than a groundless dream. But now that Jiang Zhan had suddenly asked such a question, he had some guesses. The treasure is down here. Jiang Zhan tapped the ground with his foot. Ting Feng's eyes widened. There really was? Guyu was expressionless. He probably wasn't interested in these worldly things. The first cult leader of the demon cult was hunted down because of these things. Jiang Zhan's voice echoed in the underground palace. He slowly narrated a story that neither Ting Feng nor Guyu had heard before. Back then, the first cult leader was determined to be a hero. He accidentally came across a treasure map and successfully found the treasure. He wanted to use these treasures to help those poor people, but it was this move that brought him a fatal disaster. In the end, he hid in Mount D and established the demon cult. After that, the secret of the treasure was passed down orally by the cult leader. Jiang Zhan only learned about it right before his father's death. I want to destroy this place, Jiang Zhan concluded. Ting Feng hadn't finished digesting the information when he heard Jiang Zhan's words. He looked at him in astonishment. Why destroy it? How? Guyu's question was much simpler. There's a chance we won't be able to leave. Jiang Zhan's tone turned serious. You still have a chance to leave. Although Ting Feng didn't understand why he had to destroy those things, he understood his status. Cult leader, we grew up with you. Naturally, we'll listen to you. Jiang Zhan patted their shoulders. There's already explosives buried here. We didn't have time to detonate them back then. There's a total of 3 directions. You just need to ignite them at the same time. There's an underground tunnel at each location. If you run fast enough, you should be able to leave. Guyu walked in the direction Jiang Zhan pointed. Halfway there, he suddenly turned back. Cult leader, did you decide to let us accept Wu Zheng long ago? The demon cult wasn't that easy to subdue. If Jiang Zhan hadn't given them the order, they wouldn't have acknowledged her even if they died. Jiang Zhan shook his head, his gaze distant. At first, I just wanted her to have a place to shelter her from the wind and rain. He never thought that this matter would be exposed. He thought that the devil sect would be burned to ashes, and this matter would be buried forever. Who knew that someone would suddenly expose it? Sometimes, there were actually many people who knew about secrets. Cult leader. Ting Feng was stunned. Guyu turned around and continued walking without hesitation. Asterisk thank you to the cherub who tipped me, please vote. Chapter 396. The people at the foot of the mountain climbed up MTD the next morning. Only a small portion of them went up, while the majority remained below. Around noon, a violent explosion suddenly occurred on the mountain. After the first explosion, more and more explosions occurred within the mountain. The whole of MTD began to shake, and rocks began to crumble as they swept downwards. The people who were still in shock began to flee. MTD faced the sea on one side, so most of the mountain had collapsed into the sea. However, there were still a lot of rocks and soil that fell down from the sky. Some of the rocks smashed down from the sky and directly hit some people. This was probably an unforeseen calamity. It ended before it even began. Fu Yiyun and Lu Su didn't go up the mountain. When the explosion occurred, Fu Yiyun retreated with Lu Su and successfully avoided the disaster. Ian Gij. Lu Su was so scared that her face turned pale. How could there be an explosion? Fu Yiyun hugged Lu Su and comforted her as he looked at the crumbling mountain. How many explosives must have been buried to blow up such a huge mountain? It definitely wasn't a last-minute bomb. Shisheng had already killed many people in the Jianghu. Now that more were lost, the righteous sects seemed to have withered even more. The demon sect no longer kept a low profile, and began to act brazenly, expanding their ranks. The demon sect. Shisheng was lying on a newly built roof with a snow-white puppy lying next to him. Awo awo. The puppy barked at Shisheng. What are you barking for? Shisheng roughly pressed down on the puppy's head. Awo awo awo. The puppy struggled violently and cried out miserably. When the people below looked up, they all shook their heads helplessly. The sect leader was bullying the former sect leader's dog again. Sect leader, that girl is awake. A young girl came out from a nearby house and called out to Shisheng. Shisheng grabbed the puppy's head and jumped off the roof. He stuffed the puppy into the young girl's hands and walked into the house. The young girl stroked the puppy's fur, her eyes filled with fondness. Where did the former sect leader get such a puppy? It was only the size of a palm and wouldn't grow up. It was so cute. Thinking of the previous sect leader, the girl felt a bit sad. She hugged the puppy and entered the house. Shisheng was standing beside the bed, bending over. There was a girl lying on the bed. She looked quite well behaved, but there was a scar on her face. It had already formed a scar, but it wasn't very serious. What is this place? The girl rolled her eyes and asked in a hoarse voice. Demonic sect. Demonic sect? The girl looked confused. Who am I? Shisheng. How could it be so melodramatic? Miss, don't you remember who you are? The girl holding the dog asked curiously. Cult master, did she break her head? Should we ask a doctor to take a look at her? No money. The one who spent money on the female lead was the male lead. Why should she spend money on her? Picking her up was already extremely benevolent. That's right, the person she picked up was the female lead, by Luo. It was not far from D Mountain. After picking up the male lead, she picked up another female lead. Although it was not the same drama. The girl. Our demonic sect can still afford to hire a doctor. Cult master. Why are you so stingy? Bai Luo really did lose her memory. She didn't even remember her own name. In this situation, it was impossible for her to selectively forget. She really did break her head. Great, the ship was broken just like that. As long as she kept the female lead captive in the future, Fu Yiyun and her would probably have no chance. Making the female lead lose her memory seems to be quite useful. Host is researching a strange skill again. Bai Luo stayed in the demonic sect just like that. The wound on her face was rather ugly, so the demonic sect's course men worked together to hire a doctor, who was said to be a divine doctor for her. The doctor swindled a large sum of money, but it was useless. The wound on Bai Luo's face was still there. A group of coarse men chased after that quack doctor all over the continent. There was no girl who didn't like to look pretty. Bai Luo clearly minded the wound on her face very much. She wore a veil whenever she went out, and didn't want to interact much with others. Shisheng didn't have time to care about the female lead. She was very busy. Cult Master, the left and right sentinels look much better. It's just that Cult Master Jiang. What's wrong? Is he going to die? The reporting disciple carefully observed Shisheng's expression. Why did it feel like the Cult Master was looking forward to Cult Master Jiang's death? Was it a misconception? It had to be a misconception. His condition doesn't look too good. He spat out these words. Looking at the Cult Master's expression, he was indeed looking forward to it. Let's go take a look. Shisheng waved her hand. Motherf asterisk Kerr, in order to save this idiot, I'm going to die in a sea of flames. Don't ask me why I saved him. That little bitch, the system, added some new function recently. It's getting more and more awesome. Jiang Zhan's body was covered in burns. So many days had passed, but there was still no improvement. His face was also black. How can you tell that he's not well? Shisheng asked the person beside her with a strange expression. He's as black as a bag. Tell me, what can I be BBC? Are your eyes X-ray? They even have internal scans. Just now the Cult Master was convulsing all over. That person replied weakly. Jiang Zhan's condition was indeed not good. He was severely burned and had been affected by the shockwaves of the explosion. Jiang Zhan had been unconscious ever since they brought him back. Since ancient times everyone dies. It doesn't matter if he dies early or late. Prepare for his funeral and find him a place with beautiful scenery. Shisheng patted that person's shoulder. The Cult Master's expression turned ugly. Cult Master. Shisheng seemed to know what he was going to say and interrupted him. Although I'm Grandma Yao's disciple, I'm a master of poison, not medicine. I can't save him. The Cult Master's eyes dimmed. Please think of a way, Cult Master. Shisheng rubbed the space between her brows. What can I do? It's not like I can bring someone back from the dead. The disciples were speechless. Their leader was still alive. Ever since that day, Cult Masters came to Shisheng's door every day to ask him to think of a way to save Jiang Zhan. Later, Ting Feng and Guyu woke up. Their injuries were much lighter than Jiang Zhan's, and they were alive and kicking after a few days of rest. But they were alive and kicking in front of Shisheng. Shisheng wanted nothing more than to kill them. I shouldn't have gotten you two out in the first place. Shisheng gritted his teeth and glared at the two people in front of him. Cult Master, please help us all the way. Please think of a way. Guyu glanced at Shisheng. Save him and my life is yours. Shisheng. Who the hell wants your life? Shisheng took out a bottle from his space, poured out the pills, and placed them on the table beside him. I won't be responsible if he dies. It's up to you whether to feed him or not. Most of the pills she had on her were imbued with spiritual energy. Normal people might not be able to withstand the pure power of these pills, but if they could, it would definitely be beneficial. Asterisk Jiang Zhan. I thought I was going to go offline. Little fairy. How is that possible? You're a villain. Jiang Zhan. What kind of villain would end up like me? Little fairy. Isn't it right in front of you? Jiang Zhan. Chapter 397. Ting Feng and Guyu really did give the pill to Jiang Zhan. Shisheng hadn't heard about Jiang Zhan's sudden death for a few days, and was disappointed for a while. That guy had made it through. Ow 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 what? Your master isn't dead, so don't block Ai's way. Shisheng kicked the puppy away. The puppy threw all four limbs onto Shisheng's leg, and lay on top of it. My dog is amazing. You even learned how to hug my leg. Shisheng picked it up. It was a softball and felt good when he rubbed it. This puppy was now the demon sex cult pet. Even a 1.8-meter tall man could tease it for a while. Ow 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 ow. The puppy was uncomfortable from being tossed around and cried out in pain. Sect Master, don't bully it like this. Bai Luo appeared out of nowhere, and looked at the puppy in Shisheng's hand with a pained expression. Shisheng glanced at her, and squeezed the puppy again. Bai Luo's heart ached even more when the puppy cried out in pain. Shisheng handed the puppy over. Bai Luo reached out to take it. Shisheng retracted her hand and retracted it. She placed the puppy on her shoulder and let it lie there. The puppy didn't dare to move, probably because it was afraid of falling. Bai Luo. So the sect master was just teasing her. You still haven't recovered your memories? Shisheng asked as he walked out. Bai Luo froze for a moment, then carefully followed. No. Sect master, did you know me before? Bai Luo asked very carefully. Her name was what she told him. But other than her name, she didn't say anything else. A calm voice sounded in Bai Luo's ears. So what if I know you? So what if I don't? Bai Luo didn't know why, but she became nervous and pinched her clothes. Sect master, can you tell me? She wanted to know who she used to be. She wanted to know her lost memories. Her current state made her feel very insecure. Shisheng paused and suddenly turned around. She had a smile on her face, but that smile didn't make Bai Luo feel close. Instead, it made her hair stand on end. She heard Shisheng ask her in a teasing tone, "Why should I tell you?" Bai Luo suddenly fell into a trance as several images flashed through her mind. Shisheng saw her standing there in a daze. Her brows furrowed. My BBB. Words didn't trigger her memories, did they? Bai Luo only panicked for a moment. When she tried to think carefully, she couldn't remember anything. When she looked in front of her, the woman who had been there just a moment ago had already disappeared. The devil sect was simply a group of little bitches who tortured people and wasted money. Ever since the devil sect had a little more liquid capital, this group of little bitches actually demanded to eat good food and wear good clothes. *CK your grandpa. None of you wanted to go down and rob when I asked you to. Now you're more eager than anyone else to use it. Therefore, the Shisheng refused to give her the money. The devil cult began to spread the rumor that Shisheng was a stingy leader. Stingy, right? I will show you how stingy I am. The people of the devil sect found that their meals had changed from 2 meals a day to 1 meal a day. After that it became 2 days with meat, 3 days, 4 days. Cult master, why are you becoming more and more stingy? Everyone expressed their dissatisfaction. They wanted to eat meat and went to the Shisheng to make a fuss. That was how Shisheng answered them. Eat meat? Eating meat will increase fat. Eating more vegetables is good for your body and mind. The devil sect members who had their meals deducted were unhappy and protested for more meat. However, the Shisheng pretended not to see them and gave them an expression that said, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Even though the Shisheng was so stingy, their liquid capital was still decreasing by the day. The Shisheng was mentally tired. What the hell was he raising? Even livestock didn't cost so much money. The Shisheng decided to go down the mountain and do another robbery. The devil sect members always thought that robbing was done by bandits and didn't fit with their lofty style. Therefore, every time the Shisheng said that he wanted to go down the mountain and make a fortune, they tacitly pretended not to be there. #this devil sect is poisonous. #motherf***cur. You're about to starve, but you're still thinking that being bandits isn't cool. This is an illness that needs to be treated. While Jiangzhan was recuperating, people came to complain from time to time. When Wu Zheng attacked, it was the leader who asked them to cooperate and surrender. Now that the new leader didn't even give them meat, they wanted to rebel. Jiangzhan recovered quite well and taught the person who came to complain a lesson. I told you to listen to her. Listen to her. Listen to her. Are you treating my words like the wind? Jiangzhan roared. His voice was so loud that the entire room seemed to tremble. Leader. The person who was beaten said weakly. She wants us to go down the mountain and rob. Robbing was done by bandits. We're not bandits. Didn't you condemn this behavior before? Why are you rebelling now? Jiangzhan kicked the person closest to him. So what if it's a robbery? You've killed people before, so why are you afraid of robbing? Get out of here. The few people were chased out, each of them pulling a long face. It's over, it's over. They have to go down the mountain and rob again. I think my stomach hurts. Tell Miss Wu Zheng that I won't be going. The person ran away after saying that. The remaining 4 people immediately looked at each other vigilantly and grabbed the person next to them at the same time. If they were going to lose face, everyone would lose face together. Just as Shisheng was about to go down the mountain, Jiangzhan appeared in front of him with a dark face. Oh, you're not dead yet? This villain's recovery was pretty good. He was able to get out of bed so quickly. Jiang Zhan's already dark face darkened even more. Wu Zheng, do you want me to die that badly? That's right. Jiang Zhan's chest heaved up and down. He gritted his teeth and said, I won't die. I want to be in front of you every day. Shisheng, you'll get beaten up if you keep courting death like this. Jiang Zhan was like a rooster that had won a fight. He raised his head and puffed out his chest, waving his hand happily. Let's go, little ones. This leader will bring you down to eat meat. Shisheng. F***ck. Since Jiang Zhan wanted to go, Ting Feng naturally followed. The two walked in front, whispering to each other. No one knew what they were plotting. Sect Master, I really don't know. I was also unconscious at the time. When I woke up, I was already in the sect. I only know that it was Miss Wu Zheng who brought us back. Ting Feng could recite everything. His sect master kept asking him how Shisheng had managed to save them, but how was he supposed to know the answer? Ting Feng suggested, Sect Master, if you really want to know, you can ask Miss Wu Zheng directly. Jiang Zhan immediately snorted. Who wants to ask her? Does she think she's all that just because she saved me? Ting Feng. Sect Master, is it really okay for you to say things that don't mean what you say? Being able to save them from that place was indeed amazing. In any case, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it. Ting Feng coughed and looked around sneakily. He lowered his voice and asked, Sect Master, do you like Miss Wu Zheng? Jiang Zhan looked like he had been struck by lightning. His expression was very strange, and it quickly changed several times. He said angrily, Who likes her? She's like a lunatic. This sect master doesn't like her. Ting Feng. Fine, looks like he likes her. Asterisk pleading for votes. Chapter 398. When they reached the foot of the mountain, they saw Bai Luo standing there. The single men immediately became excited. Miss Bai, why did you come down the mountain? It's dangerous down the mountain. Miss Bai, quickly go back. Jiang Zhan was unhappy when he heard this and slapped the man's head. I didn't dig a hole at the foot of the mountain. It's not dangerous. Everyone. Serves you right for being single. Bai Luo was a little embarrassed. Her face was red, and the wound was almost invisible. Bai Luo carefully looked at Shisheng at the back. Sect leader, can I go with you? No. Jiang Zhan refused. You're so skinny. Why would you want to go with us? Bai Luo. I didn't ask you. Sure. Jiang Zhan refused. Shisheng immediately agreed. He then raised his chin at Jiang Zhan provocatively. You don't want her to go, but I want her to go. Humph. Jiang Zhan strode forward. Shisheng guessed what Bai Luo wanted to do. She probably wanted to recover her memories. This was Bai Luo's freedom. Shisheng couldn't control her. She wouldn't be responsible for her safety if she followed her down the mountain. Because of Bai Luo's participation, the group of men got a carriage out of nowhere and let Bai Luo sit in it. As the sect leader, Shisheng could only watch. Jiang Zhan kept chattering, but no one gave him a second glance. The two sect leaders with no status were at the back. Jiang Zhan stole a few glances at Shisheng. That. Shisheng suddenly turned and looked at him calmly. Jiang Zhan suddenly couldn't say what he wanted to say. He gritted his teeth. Thank you. His voice was a little loud, so the people in front all turned to look. When they saw their sect leader and Shisheng walking together, they all signaled with their eyes to speed up the carriage. Shisheng was a little dumbfounded by Jiang Zhan's sudden gratitude. This idiot is suddenly thanking me? Is gold going to fall from the sky? Jiang Zhan saw Shisheng looking up at the sky and asked angrily, What are you looking at? Why is she looking up at the sky when I'm thanking her? I'm wondering if it's gold, Shisheng answered honestly. Jiang Zhan didn't know what to do for a moment. He also raised his head to look at the sky. Why would gold fall from the sky? Was this woman's brain damaged? After a while, Jiang Zhan finally reacted. He stomped his feet and pointed at Shisheng, cursing. Shisheng calmly walked forward, treating Jiang Zhan's curses as if they were nothing more than wind blowing past her ears. The noisy group made their way to the nearest city. As the butler, Ting Feng naturally began to make arrangements for accommodations. Jiang Zhan was so angered by the Shisheng that he asked for a room the moment he entered the inn. He locked himself in the room and refused to come out even if he was beaten to death. Sect Master, there aren't many rooms. Tingfeng asked me to share a room with you. Bai Luo carefully made her way to the Shisheng, her voice soft and pleasant to the ear. Shisheng glanced at Bai Luo from the corner of his eyes. Bai Luo's face, which still had a little baby fat, was always red. She looked at Shisheng innocently with her big, watery eyes. I can sleep on the floor. Bai Luo nervously added, probably because she was afraid that Shisheng would refuse. Let's go upstairs. Bai Luo immediately smiled. There really weren't many rooms. Jiang Zhan had a room to himself, while the others shared a room with 4 people. Shisheng couldn't just shove Bai Luo into Jiang Zhan's room, could he? This city was a necessary route for the so-called foreign trade business. It was equivalent to a transit city. Thus, this city was very prosperous. Most of the people here were merchants and didn't lack money. Similarly, this place was very chaotic. People from the imperial court and the martial arts world mixed together. Who wouldn't want to make money? Shisheng hadn't even stayed in the inn for a day, but he had already witnessed 2 fights. During dinner, he witnessed the 3rd fight. And this time, the fire had even spread to them. The cause was Bai Luo. When she was going downstairs, she accidentally bumped into someone. That person probably saw that Bai Luo was pretty and didn't want to let her go. Bai Luo couldn't apologize, so that person wanted to take liberties with her. As the demon sect's guardian beauty, how could the demon sect's rough men agree? Wasn't this a match? Shisheng calmly sat in the main hall and ate. It was as if the people quarreling over there weren't people from the demon sect. Jiang Zhan was probably disturbed by the noise and rushed downstairs. He didn't even give the other person a chance to react and punched him in the face. Quarrel your grandpa. You haven't quarreled enough during the day, and now you want to continue? Jiang Zhan was annoyed by the noise, so it was normal for him to explode. The person who was hit covered his mouth with a gloomy expression. When he saw the person in front of him, he immediately mocked. I was wondering who it was. So it's Sect Master Jiang. Oh no, it's former Sect Master. I heard your demon sect is now run by a woman? You're relying on a woman to protect you? Fuck. Who needs to rely on that lunatic? Jiang Zhan's anger soared. He pulled out Scarlet Heaven and slashed at the person. The people around them immediately scattered to make room. Jiang Zhan and the man were evenly matched. Neither of them had an advantage. Jiang Zhan, give that girl to me and I won't bicker with you today. How about it? The man stared at Bai Luo maliciously. There's no point in us continuing to fight like this. It's just a woman. You Jiang Zhan wouldn't be so stingy, right? Bullshit. Jiang Zhan cursed. Shisheng couldn't bear to watch. How did Jiang Zhan, this trash in battle, become a villain? Through intelligence. He didn't see any great intelligence in him. He only saw his idiotic and amusing side. Shisheng was silent. Probably because of his beauty? Shisheng rejected this idea. Fuck your grandpa. Why don't you show I how crazy you are? While Shisheng was lost in thought, Jiang Zhan had already knocked the man over, and was proudly stepping on the man's chest. The man's lackeys looked at Jiang Zhan nervously, all of them pointing their weapons at him. Jiang Zhan, let go of our sect master. Hearing this, Jiang Zhan increased his strength and stepped on the man's chest. The man groaned. Jiang Zhan. The person on the other side shouted anxiously. However, because their sect master was in Jiang Zhan's hands, they didn't dare to act rashly. The atmosphere was so heavy that it made it hard for everyone to breathe. The surroundings were quiet, and only the heavy breathing of the unknown sect master under Jiang Zhan's feet could be heard. The sound reverberated through the inn, like a large animal on the verge of death. Little sister Xiaoluo. This gentle call was extremely abrupt, but it also broke the heavy atmosphere in the inn, and the air seemed to flow again. On the second floor, a woman was looking at Bai Luo in surprise. She didn't dare to come down because of the people standing on the stairs, so she looked to the person beside her for help. Ian Gidge, its little sister Xiaoluo. Fu Ian also saw Bai Luo being protected behind the group of people. His brows furrowed, and his cold gaze landed on Bai Luo. How could she be with someone from the demon sect? Bai Luo looked at them in confusion at first, But when she saw Fu Yun's face, she froze for a moment, her heart aching. Do I know them? Asterisk pleading for votes. Chapter 399. Fu Yun jumped down from the second floor with Lu Su, who immediately walked over to Bai Luo. Xiaolo Mimi, where have you been recently? There's been no news at all. Do you know how worried Yun Gij and I have been? Bai Luo had no impression of the person in front of her, and the strange pain from before had disappeared without a trace. She retreated behind Ting Feng and asked tentatively, Do you know me? Xiaolo Mimi? Lu Su clearly didn't understand what was going on. Fu Yun's frown deepened. Xiaolo Mimi, don't you remember who I am? Unfamiliar images flashed through Bai Luo's mind. The man in front of her gave her a very familiar feeling, but she still felt a bit of resistance. She shook her head slightly. Shisheng finished his last mouthful of rice and put down his bowl. On the side, Lu Su and Fu Yun wanted to forcefully take Bai Luo away, but the demon sect members didn't agree. As for Jiang Zhan, he was sitting on the sect master's lap, holding Scarlet Heaven as he stared at Bai Luo. When Shisheng looked over, he immediately turned his head and flashed a smug expression at Shisheng. Shisheng. Retarded children were much happier. Shisheng looked away and walked over to Bai Luo, pushing aside Lu Su who was blocking his way. Wuzheng. Lu Su was astonished. Why was she here? Shisheng smiled wickedly. The girl. Bai Luo isn't willing to go with you. Are you going to snatch her away? Xiaolo Mimi, is she threatening you? Fu Yun's eyes were cold. He'd almost died at her hands last time. No, the sect master is very good to me, Bai Luo hastily denied. She'd only heard those rumors when she was outside, but she had eyes and could see for herself that the demon sect was completely different from the rumors. Even if the sect master's words were unpleasant, she'd been there for so long and had never attacked anyone or lost her temper. Moreover, she was especially good to girls, Xiaolo Mimi. Lu Su hesitated. You should come with us. Yun Gij and I won't harm you. Bai Luo clearly hated Lu Su from the bottom of her heart. She shrunk her head behind Wind Harvester and refused to look at them. If Bai Luo had to choose, she would definitely choose the demon sect, whom she had spent so much time with, and not the two people who were complete strangers to her. Shisheng clapped her hands, and the crisp sound attracted everyone's attention. Well, she didn't want to leave. It has nothing to do with me. Fu Yun's eyes flashed with anger. Wuzheng, what did you do to little Luo? Why did little Luo lose his memory? Why did he lose his memory? She probably can't stand you showing off your love with your ex-lover. Shisheng spread out his hands. People who have fallen out of love like to lose their memories. Fu Yun's expression changed slightly. What do you mean? Bai Luo liked him. Sect master. Bai Luo poked her head out and asked weakly. Did I like him before? She felt terrible when she saw this man. Could it be that she really liked this man? Yeah, didn't you have a strange feeling when you saw him? She had amnesia, not a soul swap. Some of her body's instinctive reactions, or when she was stimulated by something familiar, should have stimulated her memories and made it possible for her to recover them. Yun Gij, let's give little Luo Mimi some time to think about it. We'll ask her when she's done. Lu Su pulled Fu Yun back, afraid that he would have some thoughts about Bai Luo because of Shisheng's words. Women could see through other women more clearly than men. From the first time they met, she knew that Bai Luo liked Fu Yun. Bai Luo poked her head out again. Her bright eyes filled with curiosity and confusion. Fu Yun glanced at her, then nodded at Lu Su. Finally, his sharp gaze landed on Shisheng. Wuzheng, I'll get my revenge for last time sooner or later. We'll be waiting for you. Shisheng's lips curled up in a somewhat arrogant smile. Fu Yun wanted to draw his sword and attack, but he knew his current situation, so he went upstairs with Lu Su. Once the two left, Jiang Zhan called for his men to beat up the gang leader's men and throw them out. Jiang Zhan, just you wait. I won't let you off, the gang leader said, his face bruised and swollen. Scram. Jiang Zhan picked up a nearby stool and threw it at the gang leader. When this matter was over, the innkeeper appeared out of nowhere, calmly calculating on an abacus while muttering to himself. 3 tables, 10 stools, 3 sets of teacups, bowls. The innkeeper bent down to look at the stairs. The latter is damaged. Palipala. The total is 24 taels and 8 coins. May I ask who will pay the bill? Everyone fell silent. The onlookers left behind their money and ran out of the inn. Only the demon sect members were left, and they all looked at Shisheng. What are you looking at me for? I don't have money. You broke the things yourselves, and you want I to pay for them? Do you know how poor we are right now? Go chase that son of a bitch back for I. Jiangzhan slammed the table angrily. The table couldn't withstand his violence and fell to the ground. The innkeeper quickly added on. The demon sect members ran out of the inn and chased after the gang leader. They never expected that they would be chased back and paid for. This was a great humiliation, so the gang leader made a note of it on Jiangzhan's head. Shisheng shook his head, unable to look at them. Pay my ass. You're the demon sect, okay? Have some backbone. I'm so angry. Hashtag the demon sect's newest move to refresh our worldview. Hashtag the demon sect's style is still as strange today. Hashtag. Shisheng didn't want to talk to these idiots, so he went upstairs alone. Seeing this, Bai Luo hurriedly followed him. Leader, do I really like that man? Shisheng opened the door and said rudely, how would I know if you really like him, or if you just like his face? It wasn't scary to be shallow. She was shallow too. Does he have someone he likes? Bai Luo had already learned to ignore Shisheng's barbed words. Is it the girl beside him? Shisheng nodded absent-mindedly. Why was she so talkative? They're quite compatible. Perhaps it was because of her memory loss, but Bai Luo said this easily. Ah, compatible my ass. You're the real couple. But it's almost over. Bai Luo didn't understand why Shisheng was in sarcastic mode again. Shisheng couldn't be bothered with this silly girl, so he simply washed up with the water in the room. Shisheng took over the bed, so Bai Luo could only sleep on the soft couch in the room. It was very narrow, so she could only sleep on her side. Bai Luo couldn't sleep well because she couldn't lie down straight. She couldn't fall asleep for a while, so she thought about what happened before and fell asleep in a daze. The cold moonlight shone in through the window, covering the floor with silver frost. Hashtag what if Cherub doesn't vote? Waiting online, it's urgent. Hashtag don't vote, just don't update. Hashtag. Chapter 400. The next day, when Bai Luo woke up, there was no one in the room. She was covered with a thin quilt. Bai Luo grabbed a corner and smiled foolishly. As expected, the sect master was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She tidied up her things and went downstairs. Ting Feng and a few other demon sect members were already eating. Seeing her come down, they immediately made space for her. Bai Luo thanked him and sat down. Where's the sect master? She's not in her room? The group of disciples were astonished. When they came down, the shop hadn't opened yet. They didn't see their sect master go out. Bai Luo shook her head. It's fine, it's fine. Sect leader must have something to do and went out. Miss Bai, please eat first. That's right, that's right. Sect leader is powerful. Don't worry. The group quickly changed the topic. Jiangzhan didn't see Shisheng when he came downstairs, so he went upstairs with a dark expression. Everyone sighed and shook their heads. With their sect master's attitude, wanting to chase Lady Wuzheng was simply a fool's dream. Shisheng walked around outside and found that Bai Luo was gone by the time he returned. When he asked the others, they also looked confused. Just now, Miss Bai said that she was going upstairs to change her clothes. Where did she go? It has only been a cup of tea's time. The people below did not see Miss Bai go out. She must still be in the inn. Shisheng sighed and shook his head. Where does Fu Yin live? Ting Feng quickly pointed to a guest room not far away. That one. Shisheng walked over to the room and raised her leg to kick it. But there was no one in the room. The room next to it belonged to Lu Su. There was no one inside. No one in the inn had seen them. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. The rough men of the devil sect were very nervous, but Shisheng didn't care. Bai Luo's disappearance had nothing to do with her at all, so she could do whatever she wanted. Since Shisheng and Jiangzhan didn't order them to do anything, the other members of the devil sect began to search in batches. However, they couldn't find a single strand of hair. After staying in the city for about half a month, the Shisheng ordered his men to gather. In order to lure these people into action, the Shisheng deliberately chose a family with the worst reputation. The process was very smooth. With Shisheng's strong martial arts skills, the others basically acted as background and moved the items. Jiang Zhan didn't come at all. He expressed his support for this kind of behavior physically, but not verbally. Regarding this, the disciples only wanted to raise their middle fingers. Who was the one who wanted them to leave the mountain? In fact, the Shisheng had robbed a lot of things. She suspected that these people had stolen some things on the way. Otherwise, why was it still not enough even with so much money? When they were leaving, the group of rough men were somewhat unwilling. Sect leader, are we really not looking for Miss Bai? The world is so big, where can I find it? His words rendered these people speechless. The people on the mountain were still waiting for them to return. They ran into some trouble on their way out of the city. In the end, it was the Shisheng who solved the problem by force and ran all the way out. In the end, they didn't get far from the city before they met an unexpected person. Lady Wu Zheng? The person who called her was in a sorry state. There were dried bloodstains on his face, his beard was unkempt, and his face was pale. If it weren't for the silk and satin he was wearing, he would have looked like a beggar. He came from the opposite direction of Shisheng. He was probably injured, so he didn't move very fast. When he saw Shisheng, he was clearly a bit surprised, but then he was pleasantly surprised. Second young Master Shen. Are you going to experience the life of a refugee? Shisheng rode on his horse and looked down at the people below him. Shen Xinghai smiled bitterly and shook his head. He cupped his hands and bowed. Can I ask for Lady Wu Zheng's help? Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly. This was another male lead. Let's hear it. Shen Xinghai was about to speak when he suddenly heard the sound of horse hooves and loud shouts. Wu Zheng, are you going or not? Jiang Zhan urged his horse back. When he saw Shisheng talking to a man, he immediately became angry. He was actually talking to a man in such a friendly way. This man was so ugly, not even 1/10 as good-looking as him. Sect leader Jiang. Shen Xinghai greeted him politely and distantly. Jiang Zhan frowned and raised his chin, glancing at Shen Xinghai arrogantly. I don't know him. Who is this man? Shen Xinghai didn't say anything about Jiang Zhan's provocative behavior. Hurry up and leave. Jiang Zhan turned to urge Shisheng. Shisheng. Have I been too gentle with this guy lately? He even dares to yell at me? Lady Wu Zheng. Shen Xinghai was probably afraid that Shisheng would leave, so he called out anxiously. Shut up you. The whip in Shisheng's hand landed on Jiang Zhan's horse. The horse whinnied in pain and stomped its feet in frustration. Jiang Zhan was jolted for quite a while. He glared angrily at Shisheng. Wu Zheng, don't be ungrateful. Shisheng silently glanced at Ting Feng. What's wrong with your sect leader? Did he forget to take his medicine again? Ting Feng pretended not to see and turned to look at the scenery. Everyone else did the same thing. Some looked at the sky, some looked at the ground, and some looked at the sky, pretending to be blind the entire time. His sect leader was thinking of love. Shen Xinghai seemed to have noticed something and said gently, Sect leader Jiang, I'm just asking Lady Wu Zheng for a favor. What does it have to do with me? Jiang Zhan roared back. He slapped his horse's butt and galloped away. The sect members stared at him. Sect leader, you're leaving just like that? Are you an idiot? Shen Xinghai chuckled soundlessly, then turned to Shisheng. Lady Wu Zheng, I'd like you to take care of 2 people for me. I suggest you let me kill them. Taking care of people wasn't part of her repertoire. Shen Xinghai. His eyes darkened slightly. I will kill them myself. I only ask that Miss Wu Zheng take care of them for me. I won't beat around the bush with Miss Wu Zheng. I just want Miss Wu Zheng to provide them with a place of protection. Your big brother is still the alliance head, and I'm just the sect leader of the demon sect. Are you crazy to ask me for help? The last time she'd caused a ruckus at the alliance head meeting, the alliance head hadn't been chosen, so Shen Xingyang was still the leader. Lady Wu Zheng. Shen Xinghai's voice was slightly hoarse. I don't want to implicate my big brother in this matter. Shisheng stared at him for a few seconds, then smirked. If you ask me for help, You'll have an inexplicable relationship with the demon sect from now on. Even so, you still want my help? Lady Wuzheng, if you need my help in the future, please let me know. Shen Xinghai bowed respectfully, his attitude serious. Shixing never expected Bai Luo to be one of the people Shen Xinghai was talking about. The other person was also a girl, but she didn't look like Bai Luo with a round face. She looked like the kind that was easy to bully. This girl's face had a bit of invasive beauty, and it was obvious she wasn't easy to get along with. She was dressed in red, but unfortunately, she was unconscious. This was Shen Xinghai's female lead? With her looks and figure, the author was definitely his biological mother. Shisheng. I keep bumping into the female lead. Did she fall in love with me? Little fairy, you're thinking too much. If I don't bump into the female lead, how will the plot proceed? It's all for the sake of the plot. Don't overthink it. Shisheng. I don't like her either. Little fairy. Then what kind of girl do you like? Shisheng. Younger than me. She's my brain-dead fan. She's cute and smart. Little fairy. Which girl in this world isn't younger than you? Shisheng. Hashtag thank you to Cherub who tipped me for feeding me. Hashtag pleading for votes. Hashtag. Chapter 401. Shen Xinghai handed the two of them over to Shisheng and left. Bai Luo was awake, so when she saw Shisheng, she seemed to have found an outlet to vent all her grievances. Tears trickled down her cheeks. She didn't care if Shisheng asked her anything. As she cried, she told Shisheng everything that had happened over the past few days. That day, after she finished breakfast, she accidentally spilled her tea and went back to her room to change her clothes. Who knew that Lu Su would come looking for her? She didn't remember Lu Su, but instinctively she didn't like her, so she stood at the door and didn't let Lu Su in. Sister Xiaoluo, there are many people here. Can we go to the room and talk? Lu Su's voice was soft and soothing. However, Bai Luo didn't like this voice. She rejected her from the bottom of her heart. If you have something to say it here. Lu Su saw this and changed her words. Sister Xiaoluo, don't you want to know about your past? Bai Luo's expression changed slightly. She looked at her carefully. You know about my past? After asking, Bai Luo bit her lip. Lu Su knew her, so she must know something about her. Wasn't she asking the obvious? Lu Su smiled and nodded. I know who you are and what happened to you. If you want to know, I can tell you, but this isn't a good place to talk. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment. Then come in. She wanted to know who she was and the memories she had lost. Lu Su shook her head and said, Miss Wuzheng doesn't like me, so I won't go in. Lu Su tricked Bai Luo into her room. She did tell Bai Luo some things. However, those things were unfamiliar to Bai Luo, so unfamiliar that it was like someone else's story. Bai Luo didn't know why, but the more she listened, the more tired she felt. The person in front of her was blurry. She wanted to get up and leave, but she didn't have any strength. Her vision turned black, and finally, she fell into darkness. When she woke up, she found herself locked in a simple room. She wasn't the only one locked up. There were several other women. These women were either crying softly or staring blankly into space. When Bai Luo asked them what this place was, they all shook their heads. Bai Luo was very afraid, but the women locked up in the room made her less afraid. She checked every corner of the room, and her behavior attracted the attention of one or two women. They told her that it was useless. They had tried the same thing when they were locked up, but the room was completely blocked. These women's eyes were lifeless and filled with despair. Bai Luo didn't know how long she had been unconscious, or how long she had been locked up. During this time, someone came to deliver food. The food was stuffed under the door, and it was just a few steamed buns. When the steamed buns were stuffed in, those crying and despairing women swarmed forward. They were desperate, but they didn't want to die. Bai Luo didn't know that the food was limited. If she didn't fight for it, she would starve. She was starving for a long time. Later on, she learned to be smart and sat against the door. When the steamed buns were delivered, she was the first to grab one. Later, a woman in red was thrown in. When the woman was thrown in, she was still cursing loudly. She punched and kicked at the door, but it didn't open for a long time. When she delivered the food, the woman in red clearly didn't know that if she didn't snatch the food, she wouldn't be able to eat it. She stared dumbfoundedly at the empty bowl. Each person was given 2 steamed buns, but some people took 3. As a result, some of the weaker women had no food. These people quickly stuffed the steamed buns into their mouths. Even if the woman in red tried to snatch them back, she couldn't. Bai Luo gave one of her steamed buns to the woman in red. The woman in red was more straightforward. Bai Luo treated her well, so she treated her like a sister. She told her that she wanted to escape from here, and that she would make those people pay the price. The woman in red planned for a long time, and finally found an opportunity. However, they didn't expect that those women would betray them. The 2 of them were locked up in a very small room with walls all around. There was no other exit apart from a door. The woman in red didn't give up on the idea of escaping. After thinking for a long time, she decided to use a honey trap. Bai Luo had a weak personality, but in the face of death, she still decided to fight the woman in red. The woman in red was in charge of the honey trap, while Bai Luo stood behind her and knocked out the people who came in. However, Bai Luo was weak. In the end, the 2 switched roles. Bai Luo was in charge of the honey trap, while the woman in red knocked out the people who came in. However, Bai Luo didn't know how to use a honey trap. In the end, the woman in red had no choice but to let Bai Luo stand there and make a few moves. The plan went smoothly. However, when they went out, they alerted people and were surrounded. At the critical moment, Shen Xinghai came to save the woman in red. Although they escaped, they were still pursued. In a short period of time, they had suffered, and experienced life and death. 2 nights ago, the number of people chasing them increased. They were blocked in a rundown temple. In order to escape, Shen Xinghai lured those people away and had the woman in red take Bai Luo away. Although they escaped in the end, the woman in red was injured. Shen Xinghai was going to enter the city to find medicine for the woman in red, but he didn't expect to meet Shisheng. That was why the incident just now happened. Sect Master, I thought I'd never see you again, Bai Luo said with a sob as she pursed her lips. At that time, she thought she was going to die just like that. Shisheng leaned against the car window and pulled up the corners of his mouth. It was unknown whether he was laughing or mocking her. Why did Lu Su kidnap me? Bai Luo began to feel conflicted. Shisheng's eyebrows twitched as he listened to her rambling. This child is really naive. After a while, she faintly said, Lu Su doesn't want you to return to Fu Yun's side. It's that simple. As the evil female supporting lead, her job was to separate the male and female leads. But I've lost my memory and don't remember who Fu Yun is. And didn't you say they were a couple, Sect Master? Doesn't Fu Yun like Lu Su? The naive girl asked several questions in a row. Shisheng couldn't tell her that the evil female supporting lead's job was to continuously court death and separate the male and female leads. That was the standard answer. However, explaining it to her wouldn't be easy, so she simply shut her mouth and didn't say anything. Let the naive girl feel conflicted on her own. Bai Luo was actually injured as well. Perhaps because she felt safe by Shisheng's side, she soon fell asleep. Shisheng lifted the carriage curtains. Jiang Zhan's horse was next to her. He had run off just now, but now he was running back and following her carriage from a distance. When Jiang Zhan saw Shisheng lifting the curtains to look outside, he immediately urged his horse forward and asked with a stern face, Wu Jing, how can you just casually take someone back? She was sent here by someone else. I didn't pick her up, Shisheng corrected. Jiang Zhan was furious. Do you really think the demon sect is your territory? Don't tell me she's not mine? No. Jiang Zhan roared out these 2 words and no longer moved. He gritted his teeth and glared at Shisheng. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have become the sect master. When I get back, I'll snatch the sect master's position back. Let's see what she can do to me then. Asterisk pleading for votes. Chapter 402. Back at the demon sect, Shisheng hadn't even warmed his seat when a few disciples ran over in a panic. Sect master, someone's attacking us. The demon sect was actually located in a remote area. Back then, Shisheng had spent a lot of effort to find this place based on the plot. Someone had actually found this place. Let's go take a look. Shisheng took out his iron sword and followed them to the mountain gate. The gate had only been built recently, so the words demon sect hadn't been carved on it yet. By the time Shisheng arrived, Jiang Zhan was already there, and was currently arguing with someone. There were only 8 people on the other side, all dressed in the same uniform. Their bodies were tense, and they exuded an austere aura. If you say she's here, then she's here. Show me the evidence. Without it, I suspect you're here to cause trouble for the demon sect. We saw it with our own eyes. Sect Master Jiang. Hand her over, and we'll mind our own business. The other side was calmer. What's going on? Shisheng whispered to Ting Feng, who was standing behind him. These people are from Jadewater Mountain Village. They said we captured their eldest miss. Isn't that nonsense? When did we capture their eldest miss? Ting Feng quickly recounted the situation. I think they're here to cause trouble. I don't know how they found this place. Shisheng frowned. He grabbed Jiang Zhan's collar and pulled him behind him. Why are you wasting words with them? Just fight them. Jiang Zhan was stunned for a moment. Then he reacted. Guys, attack. The demon sect had heard the commotion and gathered here. Jiang Zhan gave the order, and a group of people swarmed forward. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Even if these 8 people were skilled in martial arts, they could only retreat in defeat when surrounded by so many people. Bah, these people even know how to find excuses now. A bunch of sanctimonious beasts dressed in human clothing. Sect Master, what do we do now? Now that someone had discovered the demon sect's location, there would definitely be people coming to surround them. Shisheng swung his iron sword and said arrogantly, what's there to be afraid of? If one comes, we'll kill one. If a group comes, we'll kill a group. The sect members. Sect Master, we'll kneel to you. Jiang Zhan glanced at Shisheng before harumphing coldly and turning to leave. He didn't know what had gotten into him. Shisheng looked at him in confusion. How did this Bao offend you? Why are you being so arrogant? When Shisheng went to check on Bai Luo and the woman in red was already awake. She was sitting on the bed with a blank look in her eyes. It was unknown what she was thinking. Bai Luo stood at the side with medicine in her hands. She carefully advised, Sister Weiwei, Brother Shen is so powerful. He'll be fine. You should recover first before you go and find her. Sect Master. Bai Luo looked up and saw Shisheng walk in, so she called out softly. His voice brought Zhong Weiwei's wandering thoughts back to reality. She looked at Shisheng, sizing him up. You're Wu Zheng? She was not the least bit courteous in her question. What's wrong? Can't I? Shisheng pulled a chair and sat down. He crossed his arms and looked at her. Zhong Weiwei suddenly coughed a few times. Bai Luo hurriedly put down the medicine bowl and helped Zhong Weiwei breathe. When Zhong Weiwei stopped coughing, her face was pale. Her jade-like fingers clutched the blanket, her knuckles turning slightly blue. She gasped for breath and asked, What kind of deal did Shen Xinghai make with you? Shisheng's lips curled up. He said viciously, From now on you're mine. Zhong Weiwei was stunned. Sect Master. Bai Luo was also stunned. When did Brother Shen say that? Shisheng looked at them with a smile. His expression made it seem as if Shen Xinghai really did say that. Zhong Weiwei suddenly flipped over and got off the bed. But the moment her feet touched the ground, her body went limp. Her wounds hurt as if they were being torn apart. Sister Weiwei, don't move. Your injuries are very serious. Bai Luo supported Zhong Weiwei, her face full of worry. Sect Master doesn't have any ill intentions. Brother Shen didn't say that to Sect Master either. Don't worry. Shisheng glanced at Bai Luo. Bai Luo felt uncomfortable under his gaze and lowered her head, not daring to meet Shisheng's gaze. It's up to you whether you want to leave or not. But I won't take a single thing less from Shen Xinghai. Shisheng stood up and left after saying that. She had only agreed to bring them back to the demon sect, not to watch over them. In the end, Zhong Weiwei didn't leave. She fainted before she could walk out of the room. More and more people came to the demon sect to look for them. Not only were there people from the martial arts world, but there were also people from the imperial court, and even ordinary people. When did the demon sect have those people? Shisheng couldn't help but ask the person beside him after sending off the third wave of people. Aside from the 2 new female leads, the demon sect didn't have any new members recently. The names they were shouting were completely unheard of. Sect Master, I know. A sect member raised his hand. Speak. The sect member immediately poured out all the information he had heard. Recently, there had been many missing persons cases in the Jianghu. The people who went missing were all young and beautiful women. There were all kinds of people, including the daughters of imperial court officials, the young misses of martial arts clans, and the daughters of ordinary families. These people think we're the ones who kidnapped those women. That was the sect member's last sentence. Shisheng suddenly pointed his iron sword at them and asked with a scowl, "Did you guys go behind my back and kidnap wives?" The sect members. Can't our sect master be a little more serious? Do we look that thirsty? Sect master, someone's coming up again. The person keeping watch at the foot of the mountain called out as he ran. There were quite a few people following behind him. It's Fu Yun. Ting Feng appeared out of nowhere. Before he could finish speaking, Jiang Zhan pushed him aside and stood beside Shisheng. Jiang Zhan put his hands on his hips and roared like a shrew. Fu Yun, what are you doing in the demon sect? Shisheng looked at Ting Feng. Didn't I tell you to lock up this idiot? Ting Feng was innocent. I can't lock him up. Fu Yun's group stopped 10 meters below. Jiang Zhan, hand by Luo over. Who do you think you are? Jiang Zhan snorted. Jiang Zhan, where's my daughter? A man next to Fu Yun asked in a low voice. This person should be Bai Luo's father. Who's your daughter? She's gone missing, so why did you come to the demon sect to look for her? Are you crazy? Shisheng felt that Jiang Zhan didn't lose to him in terms of offending people, but this guy was still trash. Jiang Zhan, why are you calling me grandpa? The group below was so angry that their faces turned ashen. Father Bai and Fu Yun whispered to each other. Father Bai raised his voice and said, Sect Master Jiang, I just want to find my daughter. As long as you return my daughter to me, I'll let bygones be bygones. Jiang Zhan was shocked. Then if I hurt your daughter, you won't pursue the matter? Being your daughter is really unlucky. Father Bai. Demon Head Jiang, do you think you can still escape? Everyone below is our people. Obediently surrender and Grandpa will let you die a little easier. Hand her over, hand her over. Demon Head Jiang, hand her over. Asterisk little fairy. Demon Head Jiang, hand over the ticket. Jiang Zhan. Fine, I won't give it to you. Little fairy. Then you can be a bachelor for the rest of your life. Jiang Zhan. We'll go through thick and thin together. Little fairy, drag him out, drag him out. This immortal doesn't want to see him. Chapter 403. Shisheng felt like they were really ignoring her. She was the demon sect's sect master, alright? Why were they all pointing at Jiang Zhan? This idiot came out to steal Ai's limelight. Shisheng pulled Jiang Zhan behind her. Crazy woman, what are you doing? Jiang Zhan glared at Shisheng. You talk too much. Shisheng glanced at him indifferently. If you dare take a step forward, I'll kill that puppy of yours. As expected, Jiang Zhan, who was about to take a step forward, paused and retracted his foot. His mouth, however, was still unforgiving. You're just a woman. What are you trying to do? Just stand behind this sect master. Stand behind you and block attacks for you? Jiang Zhan stomped his feet in anger. Don't look down on me. I'm just not that strong for now. Shisheng spread her hands. But they're attacking us now. Not that strong for now? Do you think you still have a cooldown to recover your health? Jiang Zhan's gaze changed and he suddenly fell silent. His hands slowly clenched into fists. Sect Master, don't be rash. Ting Feng moved closer to Jiang Zhan and reminded him in a low voice. What kind of man am I if I have to let her stand in front of me? Jiang Zhan's voice was filled with resentment. Sect Master. Ting Feng was in a difficult position. Actually, Miss Wu Zheng is quite strong. You can't do anything about it now, can you? Wait until you get through the last half a year. Then you can stand in front of Miss Wu Zheng. Ting Feng was afraid that Jiang Zhan would be rash and waste all his previous efforts, so she tried her best to persuade him. Jiang Zhan's expression relaxed slightly. There was only half a year left before he could reach the 9th level of the Nether Mantra. The Nether Mantra's early stages were very weak and basically useless. Moreover, it couldn't be used to cultivate other techniques. He had been cultivating the Nether Mantra since he was young, but after that incident, he couldn't cultivate other techniques even if he wanted to. He could only grit his teeth and continue cultivating the Nether Mantra. It was rumored that when the Nether Mantra reached the 9th level, one could summon clouds and rain with a flip of their hand. Yes, no one in the demon sect had ever reached the 9th level. He was the only one who had persisted for so long, and was about to succeed. Wu Zheng, what are you doing? This scream pulled Jiang Zhan back to reality. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the sound. Just then, he saw Shisheng raise his sword and slash at a man. The man was frightened and stepped back. He tripped and rolled down the mountain. Ah. His screams were getting closer and farther away. It's not my fault. He rolled down himself. Shisheng spread out his hands, looking very innocent. If you don't cut him, can he roll down? Kill. The members of the devil cult were engaged in a fierce battle with the people below. Shisheng stood a little behind them and didn't move. Fu Yiyun and Father Bai didn't move either, as if they were competing to see who was more patient. Saber light and sword shadows shuttled back and forth between them. Blood blossomed on the blue stone. Shisheng slowly raised his hand, and the iron sword streaked through the air. The surging airflow seemed to have solidified and gathered around her. The grass and trees swayed, and the momentum was astonishing. Father Bai and Fu Yiyun immediately grew wary as they looked at the woman above. A smile slowly blossomed on her calm face. That smile was too brilliant, like the golden sunlight piercing through the dark clouds, or withered flowers coming back to life. Her body flashed, and she quickly flashed through the crowd. That brilliant smile from before seemed to have frozen in place. By the time Fu Yiyun and Father Bai reacted, they could only see figures falling down one after another. Sect Master is mighty. Sect Master unifies the Jianghu. After losing their opponents, the devil cult members actually began to shout slogans. Fu Yiyun's expression changed slightly, and he pulled Father Bai down the mountain. This woman's strength had actually increased again. By the time Shisheng finished dealing with those people, Fu Yiyun and Father Bai had already retreated down the mountain. Shisheng had people throw the corpses away. She circled around the mountain once, and by the time she returned, the corpses were more or less cleaned up. Jiang Zhan and Ting Feng stood at the foot of the mountain. Sect Master, I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. Didn't you use the Cold Moon sword before? What sword are you using now? It's so powerful. Ting Feng's eyes shone as he stared at the iron sword in Shisheng's hand. Guyu rushed over from afar, presumably interested in the sword as well. Shisheng looked at the iron sword in his hand, conflicted. What should I call it? Iron sword. Changing my name again? Master, have you almost forgotten my original name? Shisheng said seriously, the world's #1 sword. Ting Feng. This name is so casual. Guyu. Vulgar. Jiang Zhan didn't say anything, but he looked at Shisheng with a complicated gaze. Shisheng gave Jiang Zhan a strange look. What's wrong with this child? He's not used to being so quiet. I'm going into seclusion. It was rare for Jiang Zhan to speak to him in such a calm tone. Shisheng raised his brows. You'll be able to defeat me after you're done? Of course. Jiang Zhan's calm demeanor didn't last a minute, and his tail was sticking up in the air again. Shisheng didn't comment. Jiang Zhan snorted. You better believe me. Let's wait and see. Shisheng spread his hands. Then let's wait and see. Jiang Zhan looked around. Come with me for a bit. For what? Just come with me. Stop talking so much. Shisheng. Who's the one talking the most? Jiang Zhan brought Shisheng to a place where no one was around. He abruptly turned around and hugged Shisheng. Before she could react, he immediately released her. Wu Jing, when I come out, I'll marry you. Shisheng was dumbfounded. What the hell? Jiang Zhan's face was a bit red. Since no one wants to marry you like this, I'll reluctantly accept you. You're really wronged. Who the hell wants to marry you? Jiang Zhan's voice suddenly dropped. If I can come out. There were only 2 ways to reach level 9 of the Nether Mantra. Either you succeed, or you die. The atmosphere was a bit stifling. Jiang Zhan exhaled and rummaged through the room. He found a few things and stuffed them all into Shishang's hands. I'm leaving. If I don't come out, I'll leave the demon sect to you. He paused. I'll definitely come out. He didn't know if the last sentence was meant for Shishang or himself. He walked out of the room. The sunlight outside made him dizzy. He couldn't wait any longer. Tingfeng was right. She was very powerful, so powerful that he was a bit afraid. If he didn't move forward, he might not be able to catch up to her. Shishang hugged the pile of strange things, still a bit confused. It took him a while to react. Jiang Zhan probably liked Wu Jing. He remembered everything from his childhood so clearly. It wasn't like he had killed his father. The only explanation was that Jiang Zhan liked Wu Jing. Unfortunately, she wasn't Wu Jing. She couldn't be with him. Jiang Zhan going into seclusion didn't affect the demon sect at all. They already felt that Shishang was a good leader. They had meat to eat and money to spend. Little fairy. Do you have tickets today? Cherub, guess. Little fairy, guess if I'll guess. Cherub, guess if I'll guess if you'll guess. Little fairy, I won't guess. Sniveling, please. Chapter 404. When Fu Yiyun woke up the next day, he discovered that Lu Su was gone. Even his meteor sword was gone. His first reaction was that Lu Su had been kidnapped. He anxiously went to ask his subordinates. Many of them had an impression of Lu Su. She was beautiful, elegant, and well-spoken. Most people wouldn't forget her. But the answer he got left Fu Yiyun shocked. Last night, someone had gone out to drink. When he returned, he happened to see Lu Su leaving the inn in a hurry. Because that person was drunk, he didn't see clearly whether she was holding meteor sword or not. However, with so many people present, there was an 80% chance that Lu Su was the one who had stolen meteor sword. No one had noticed a stranger entering the inn, but it couldn't be that no one had noticed, right? Meteor sword had been in Fu Yun's possession when he first became famous. Very few people knew of his identity and background. They only knew that his swordsmanship was exceptional, and that he later became the world's #1 swordsman. But now, this #1 swordsman had his sword stolen by a woman. Even at a time like this when everyone was united against outsiders, there were still people who were secretly watching a good show. Fu Yun wasn't in the mood to deal with these people's mockery. He didn't understand how he'd let Lu Su down for her to steal his sword. His chest tightened, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Pfft! Sir Fu, why are you spitting blood? Hurry and call a doctor. Help Sir Fu up first. The scene was chaotic. The demon sect was surrounded, but these people found that they couldn't go up. They could see the path up the mountain, but once they went up, they would quickly return to their original spot. What the hell? No matter how we go, we'll return here. Is this ghost going around a wall? A group of people gathered together and looked at the mountain path with strange expressions. It's the Chimenduanjia technique. As the alliance master, Shen Xingyang was naturally present. He was the calmest. Next to him was the Villa Lord of Jadewater Manor. He continued Shen Xingyang's words. I didn't expect the demon sect to have so many talents. The Chimenduanjia technique was known to be quite miraculous. Hearing this, everyone quieted down. They hadn't heard of anyone who knew it. The demon sect isn't that easy to attack. Shen Xingyang sighed. That woman called Wu Zheng. If not for these people, he wouldn't have come. Alliance Master, do you have any ideas? He Xingyang shook his head. He didn't know the Chimenduanjia technique, so what could he do? Manor Lord Zhong glanced at Shen Xingyang, his eyes flashing. Why don't we try a fire attack? Chimenduanjia needed to rely on external objects. If they set fire to the mountain, they should be able to break it, right? Shen Xingyang didn't say anything. How could the Chimenduanjia be broken so easily? However, these people had no choice but to try. The fire was burning, but there was a limit. Once it reached a certain point, it could not advance any further. There seemed to be an isolation line there. The fire was burning very vigorously outside, but the trees inside were not touched by any sparks. Just as the people outside were surprised, several figures appeared on the bluestone road down the mountain, pointing at the fire that was only a step away from them. Sect Master is right. These flames really can't reach us. Sect Leader is amazing. Sect Leader even said that they can't break in. I wonder if that's true. Do you want to try? Who's to blame if he dies? Are you stupid? I didn't ask you to stand there and let them hit you. Don't you know how to run? Thus the group was provoked. Their attacks could only reach the isolation line of the fire, and they would be reflected back. Fuck, what kind of men are you hiding in there? Come out if you have the guts. Little bastards of the demon sect, come out. Grandpa is waiting for you outside. The demon sect members raised their middle fingers in unison, then glanced at each other before running up the mountain. Bastards, what are you running for? Can you hide in there forever? The curses of the people below grew louder and louder, but no one appeared on the mountain path. Just as they were about to stop, a large group of people ran down from the mountain. The crowd from the righteous sects. What's going on? Having people appear was better than having no one pay attention to them. Thus, they cursed even louder, wanting to force the demon sect members out of their turtle shells. However, it was useless. The group stood on the mountain path and didn't say anything, only pointing at them. That black guy, all he does is call us bastards. If you don't know how to curse, then don't curse. Don't you feel ashamed? Why don't I see that pretty boy Fuiyun? I heard them say that he's about to die. The other demon sect members looked at the person who spoke. That demon sect member said smugly, I heard that it was a woman who harmed him. Oh right, did you know that he has an awesome identity? No, Buttface, we're all in the mountain. Where did you hear so much news? Someone interrupted. Ever since their sect master sealed off this mountain, no one had left it. I snuck down at night and heard them say it. The demon sect member called Buttface chuckled. You've got guts. Don't interrupt. Listen to me. Buttface gestured for them to be quiet. I heard that this Fuiyun is the current 9th prince, the son of the number 1 beauty who once shook the world. 9th prince. Sect master. The crowd parted, and Shishing walked down the steps. Fuiyun is from the imperial family? Prince awesome. The plot didn't mention this, so Shishing naturally didn't know. Buttface scratched his head. Sect master, I only heard it from them. I don't know the details. Shishing didn't continue the topic and looked outside. The people outside had probably seen her, for they all stopped cursing and turned to look at her. Sect master, when are we going to fight our way out? They couldn't possibly just let them surround her, could they? If you want to fight, then fight. I'm not stopping you. Shishing rolled her eyes at the person who asked the question. Once you leave, you won't be able to come back in. I won't take responsibility if you die. The cowardly demon sect members. It was better for them to hide here like turtles. But that didn't stop them from attacking the people outside in other ways. As long as they stood in a safe zone, the people outside couldn't do anything to them. They were addicted to this game and used different methods to torment the people outside every day. In the end, they had no choice but to retreat to somewhere further away. Because of the distance, the demon sect members couldn't harass them. As the saying went, virtue is 1 foot tall, the devil 10. You have a good plan, but I have a ladder. Separated by a transparent barrier, the two sides were still fighting to their heart's content. Shishing could only look at them, as if they were retarded. She was waiting for these people to gather, and catch them all in one fell swoop. In the end, she caused quite a few of them to run away. What the F***ck woo woo. The little puppy paced around Shisheng's feet. Shisheng. Why are you so big? There's no such thing as a teacup dog in this era, right? Author, is it really okay for you to add in things like this? Asterisk hashtag thanks to the cherub's tips hashtag asking for votes hashtag asking for monthly votes hashtag asking for tips hashtag. Chapter 405. The demon sect had been besieged for a month. Early in the morning, Shisheng heard that the demon sect members were particularly excited. Sect leader, Sect leader, are you awake? Ting Feng banged on the door loudly. Shisheng opened the door. What are you doing? Can't you let me sleep early in the morning? There's an infighting down there. Sect leader, do you want to go take a look? Ting Feng was excited. Shisheng frowned. What infighting? Let's go, let's go. Ting Feng was bold enough to drag Shisheng away. The puppy crawled out of the house and waddled behind Shisheng. However, it stopped at the bottom of the stairs. It was too high to go down. Shisheng passed by the mountain gate and looked up. He was startled by the figure standing upright above. Guyu moved. Wasn't Guyu always on the roof? Now he was absorbing the essence of the sun and moon? Ting Feng followed his gaze and looked around. You can see the bottom from here. Shisheng. So why not go down and take a look? Half of the demon sect members were down there. When Shisheng came down, they immediately gave up the best viewing position. The people in the distance formed 3 groups. Xin Xingyang and Xin Xinghai were in one group. Village head Zhong was in another. The leader of the last group was unknown. Father Bai wasn't there. The 3 groups each occupied one side. The atmosphere was tense. When did Xin Xinghai come? Last night, Buttface answered immediately. Buttface replied immediately. I heard him and Xin Xingyang talking about the kidnapping of the young girl. Then this morning, Xin Xingyang and Zhong Han quarreled. Xin Xingyang accused Zhong Han of being the mastermind behind the kidnapping. They already fought just now. Zhong Han, the village head of the Jadewater village who wanted something from her. He's the mastermind behind the kidnapping case, so he was the one who kidnapped me? Why is Zhong Weiwei over there? Shisheng suddenly pointed at a red figure in the crowd. Zhong Weiwei, Zhong Han? These 2 couldn't be father and daughter, right? They left early in the morning. We couldn't stop them, Ting Feng replied. Shisheng couldn't hear what they were saying because they were too far away. She walked outside. Hey, sect leader. Why are you going out? Ting Feng hesitated for a moment, but still decided to give chase. Since the sect leader and the protector had already left, the others could not help but follow suit. As a result, Shisheng led a group of people and approached them aggressively. The people on the other side also noticed Shisheng coming over, and they all looked at Shisheng. Which Wu Zheng, stop right there. Do I have to stop just because you tell me to? How embarrassing. Shisheng sneered and continued to walk forward for about 10 meters. Everyone. So if you take a few steps forward, you'll gain face? You're having a meeting so early in the morning? Mind if I watch? Shisheng smiled at Xin Xinghai. Xin Xinghai nodded slightly at her. Do as you wish, Miss Wu Zheng. Xin Xinghai. Zhong Han roared. Do you want to collude with the devil sect? Xin Xinghai looked over in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Manor Lord Zhong, Miss Wu Zheng is only here to take a look. She can also be a witness. Zhong Han's reaction was a bit extreme. She's the leader of the devil sect. Why would she be a witness? Xin Xinghai, have you been colluding with the devil sect for a long time? Shisheng snorted. Why can't I be a witness? Do I not look like a human? Are members of the devil sect not human? Manor Lord Zhong, you should explain what second young master Xin said. Since sect leader Wu Zheng has no other intentions, it's fine for her to be present. After all, this matter involves the devil sect. A third party tried to smooth things over. I've already explained. Zhong Han's face was cold. My third brother was in charge of those businesses. I have no idea what he was doing. Xin Xinghai looked at Zhong Weiwei. But Miss Zhong also said that when third master Zhong was alive, he handed over all his businesses to Manor Lord Zhong. How could Manor Lord Zhong not know? What does a silly girl like her know? Zhong Han glared at Zhong Weiwei threateningly. Zhong Weiwei's expression did not look too good. When Zhong Han glared at her, anger flared in her eyes. Second uncle. Why are you in such a hurry to throw dirty water at my father? I'm telling the truth. Zhong Han frowned. Weiwei, you're still young. You don't understand these things. I'll explain it to you when we get back. Don't help an outsider against second uncle. We're family. Who's family with you? Zhong Weiwei. Shisheng was surprised. So they weren't father and daughter. Shisheng ordered the devil sect members to go back and get stools. There was going to be a good show to watch. Everyone. Did this devil sect leader really think they were here to watch a show? When my father was alive, you took back all those businesses. If it wasn't for my mother's dowry, our family would have starved to death. Second uncle, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for saying this? Shen Xinghai stepped forward and hugged Zhong Weiwei, gently patting her back. Fine. Since you said that I took back those businesses, what evidence do you have to prove that I took them back? Shisheng listened for a while before connecting the dots. Shen Xinghai wanted to find out who was chasing after them. In the end, he found out that those people were from Jadewater Village. Zhong Weiwei was the daughter of Jadewater Village's third Master Zhong. Third Master Zhong passed away half a year ago, leaving only Zhong Weiwei and her mother. Zhong Weiwei's mother wasn't in good health. Not long after Third Master Zhong passed away, she also passed away, leaving Zhong Weiwei alone. As the young miss of Jadewater Village, she was being chased by people from Jadewater Village. This made Shen Xinghai very surprised, so he continued to investigate. A few brothels under Jadewater Village forced women into prostitution and secretly engaged in human trafficking. This time, the disappearance that had caused a huge uproar was related to Jadewater Village. But now, Zhong Han pushed the blame to the dead Third Master Zhong. As the saying goes, dead men tell no tales. Zhong Weiwei was definitely unhappy. She always knew that her second uncle didn't get along with her father, but she didn't expect him to be so ruthless. He sold her and even pushed the blame to her father. He didn't treat her family as family. If village head Zhong wants evidence, I naturally have it. Shen Xinghai motioned for Zhong Weiwei to stop talking. Zhong Weiwei's eyes were a little red and misty, but she didn't shed a single tear. Zhong Han was still calm. Second young Master Shen, take out the evidence. Shen Xinghai took out a few booklets from his sleeve and directly handed them to a neutral third party. Everyone look carefully. These are the names of all the abducted women. Village head Zhong's seal is at the bottom. Those people passed the booklets around. It really is village head Zhong's seal. It really is. Zhong Han's expression finally changed. In the end, the booklets were passed to him. He opened the booklets. He definitely wasn't familiar with the booklets, but the seal was indeed his. But he had never stamped such a name list before. Which idiot would use his own seal to do something bad? Zhong Han closed the booklets. Second young Master Shen, I've never seen such a thing. Moreover, things like seals are very easy to fake. When my third brother was alive, he could enter and leave my study at will. He could also get my seal. You're talking nonsense. Zhong Weiwei was so angry that her face turned red. You've never allowed anyone to enter your study. Since when could my father enter and leave your study at will? Asterisk update frowny face Yin Shuichan Devilheart Cherub update. Please vote. Chapter 406. Zhong Han was adamant that Third Master Zhong was the culprit. Other than the name list, Shen Xinghai could not produce any other evidence. The situation fell into a stalemate. I have an idea. Do you want to try it? A clear female voice broke the silence. Everyone turned to look at the woman who was sitting on the chair without a care for her image. Miss Wu Zheng, feel free to speak. Shen Xinghai spoke before Zhong Han could. Shisheng smiled. I have a drug that can make people speak the truth. Village head Zhong, do you want to try it? Who knows if you're giving me poison? Zhong Han snorted. Shisheng sneered. If I wanted to poison you, do you think you'd still be standing? Shisheng had been too violent these days. He would start fighting at the slightest disagreement. They had almost forgotten that the woman in front of them was Grandma Yao's disciple. She had superb poison skills. Zhong Han probably remembered as well. Village head Zhong, if you want to prove your innocence, this is the easiest way. Zhong Han's expression turned ugly. If Zhong Han did not have a guilty conscience, he would not be afraid. But he did. Village head Zhong, Miss Wu Zheng's suggestion is feasible. If you're worried, I can take it with you at the same time, Shen Xinghai suggested. Zhong Han was in a dilemma. If he agreed and the drug that made people speak the truth was real, he would be exposed. But if he didn't agree, it would prove that he had a guilty conscience. Zhong Han cursed Shisheng's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. If she had not jumped out to cause trouble, he would have pushed the blame to his short-lived third brother. Village head Zhong, what do you think? Shen Xinghai waited for Zhong Han for a while before asking. I don't believe Wu Zheng, Zhong Han choked out. I think you're just afraid that you'll say something, Shisheng quickly added. Zhong Han glared fiercely at Shisheng. Wu Zheng, stop spouting nonsense. I think you're the one who colluded with my third brother. Now that you've been exposed, you're trying to frame me. How much money can you make from human trafficking? Shisheng's face was full of disdain. It's not even as fast as eyes robbery. Everyone. Hey, is it really okay to say that in front of so many people? All the disciples. Sect leader, this kind of thing is not open and above board at all. What's with that arrogant look on your face? Zhong Han was rendered speechless by these words. If you splash dirty water on her, she will be able to flatter herself and catch you off guard. Shen Xinghai coughed. I wanted to leave some face for everyone. But since Manor Lord Zhong doesn't want it, there's nothing I can do. Zhong Han's sharp gaze swept toward Shen Xinghai. What did he mean by that? Shen Xinghai waved to the people behind him, and a few people were pushed out from the crowd. Shisheng recognized one of them. It was Ah Fu. Manor Lord. Ah Fu did not dare to look at Zhong Han. I'm sorry, Manor Lord. Second young master Shen knows everything. What nonsense are you spouting? Why was Fu on Shen Xinghai's side? Why was he speaking up for Shen Xinghai? What did he say to Shen Xinghai? Zhong Han was a little flustered. But more than that, he was angry. He was angry that Fu had betrayed him. Manor Lord Zhong, you must be unfamiliar with these people, right? They are the stewards of your Jadewater Manor. Shen Xinghai pointed at the people beside Ah Fu. Manor Lord, second young master Shen knows everything. Ah Fu said bitterly. It's Ah Fu's fault. Ah Fu has let Manor Lord down. Ah Fu had reached an agreement with Shen Xinghai to reveal all of Zhong Han's evil deeds. Zhong Han wanted to kill Ah Fu to silence him, but Zhong Weiwei stopped him. Second uncle, what else do you have to explain now? Zhong Weiwei thought about how she had been captured by those people, and almost sold to a brothel because of her second uncle. She felt a wave of disgust. This person was her relative. How could he do such a deranged thing? Oh my, you so-called righteous sects are also so despicable. Shisheng's mocking voice was like a thorn in the hearts of the righteous sects present. The demonic sect was detestable, but they were detestable in an open and above-board manner. Moreover, they did not lay a hand on the elderly, the weak, women, or children. But what Zhong Han had done was worse than a beast. Now that they were being mocked by Shisheng, the people on the other side were a little angry. Zhong Han, I really didn't expect you to do such a thing. Zhong Han knew that there was no use in quibbling now. He quickly reached out and grabbed Zhong Weiwei, strangling her neck. He shouted at the others, don't come over. If you do, I'll strangle her to death. Shen Xinghai's face tightened. He reached out and stopped the people behind him who wanted to rush forward. Manor Lord Zhong, let go of Weiwei. Get out of the way. Zhong Han roared. Otherwise I'll strangle her to death. Second uncle, how did my father die? Zhong Weiwei was being held hostage, but she didn't show much panic. Instead, she asked a question that caught everyone off guard. How did he die? Ha ha ha, that idiot. I poisoned him to death. Zhong Han's face twisted. He's my younger brother. He actually dared to disobey me and even wanted me to stop. Don't you think I should have poisoned him to death? Zhong Weiwei's body trembled. Her eyes were red and bloodshot. Zhong Han pushed Zhong Weiwei forward. All of you, get out of the way. Shen Xinghai asked the people to make a path. Zhong Han said proudly, Zhong Weiwei, I didn't expect you to be of some use. Zhong Weiwei clenched her fists and closed her eyes. A dagger suddenly slid out of her sleeve. She fiercely stabbed behind her. Zhong Han was prepared. Zhong Weiwei's dagger only scratched his clothes. However, Zhong Han twisted and broke Zhong Weiwei's wrist. Crack. It was a very loud and clear sound. Bitch, you still want to resist? Zhong Han roared. Suddenly, the smell of blood rose from his chest. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body suddenly lost all strength. He couldn't even hold on to Zhong Weiwei. Seeing this, Shen Xinghai immediately went forward and pulled Zhong Weiwei into his arms. The people behind Zhong Han were in the same situation. They fell limply to the ground. Soon the ground was filled with people. It was a spectacular scene. Other than the demon sect, no one was spared. Even Shen Xinghai felt weak. However, it wasn't as serious as the others. He couldn't even stand up. Wu Zheng. When did this demoness poison them? This shout cleared everyone's confusion. It was her. She was the only one here who could poison them without anyone noticing. Why are you calling me sect master? Shisheng dug his ears. You can still shout so loudly. It seems like the poison isn't serious. Do you want this sect master to give you a single deluxe set meal? Everyone. What kind of nonsense was he talking about? They didn't understand. Don't stare at me like that. It's embarrassing. Shisheng said this, but his expression was arrogant. He was just short of writing on his face. This sect master's beauty is unparalleled in the world. It's your honor to be able to admire me. Hurry up and worship me. Asterisk little fairy. Shameless again. System. She never wanted it. Shisheng. Shameless people are unparalleled in the world. Chapter 407. Sect leader, do you want to kill them all? It's only a matter of time before we unify the Jianghu. One of the disciples urged Shisheng excitedly. These people seem to have some status. If we kill them, no one will be in charge of the Jianghu anymore. The Jianghu will belong to the demon sect. Sect leader, just kill them. Sect leader, just kill them. The disciples began to urge Shisheng to kill these people. Who said that my goal is to unify the Jianghu? Shisheng asked slowly. The disciples were dumbfounded. Wasn't that right? But sect leader, why do you look like you're trying to unify the Jianghu? The righteous disciples lying on the ground waiting to be slaughtered were also dumbfounded. This woman actually said that her goal was not to unify the Jianghu, but to unify the world? Shisheng shouted his slogan domineeringly. My goal is the Sea of Stars. He was a professional braggart for 100 years. The disciples were speechless. What was their sect leader talking about? The righteous disciples lying on the ground were speechless. Did this woman not take her medicine? Shisheng waved his hand. How could these people understand his dream? Strip these people first. Ha! Strip them for what? Shisheng looked over. The demon sect disciples immediately dispersed and walked towards the people on the ground. These people couldn't speak fluently. They wanted to curse Shisheng, but the words they said were out of tune. The demon sect disciples pressed them down and began to strip them. Hey, what are you doing? Shisheng was dumbstruck as she watched one of the sect members strip off a person's inner garment. I told you to search their bodies for their belongings, not strip them. Why were these disciples so honest? Sect leader, can you be clearer next time? Didn't their sect leader just ask them to strip their clothes? Shisheng was speechless. My fault, I'll take the blame. No tacit understanding. The disciples gave up on stripping their clothes. They searched their bodies for their belongings and piled them in front of Shisheng. Even Shen Xinghai was not spared. But Zhong Weiwei and the others did not move. #demon sect disciples bewitched by beauty #therefore. When Father Bai arrived with his men, he saw a group of people lying on the ground with disheveled clothes and staring angrily in a certain direction. She looked like a young girl who had been raped and was glaring angrily at the criminal. Father Bai shifted his gaze to the direction they were staring at. The disciples of the devil sect surrounded a pile of weapons and pointed at them. When they sensed that someone was coming, they immediately blocked the weapons behind them. Papa Bai. If he wasn't mistaken, that pile of things belonged to the people lying on the ground, right? Behind Father Bai was a man and an army. Shisheng sat on the chair and tilted his head to look at the man. It was the man who met Lu Su in the grove. To think that they were from the imperial court. Judging from his clothes and appearance, he should be related to Fu Yun by blood, right? TSK. This melodramatic scene of the sons of the royal family killing each other. Wu Jing, what did you do to them? Father Bai rushed up to Shisheng and demanded. He was just a step late. What had happened? Didn't you see it? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. She didn't hide it. It was right in front of him. Was he blind not to see it? Manor Lord Bai. Fu Irue pulled Father Bai back. Don't fight force with force. It was obvious that this woman had the advantage in this situation. If she could easily take down so many people, she could naturally do the same to them. This was Fu Irue's first time seeing this demoness, who was the talk of the pugilistic world, up close. Fourth Imperial Prince Fu Irue raised a hand to interrupt Father Bai. My mission is to apprehend the culprit behind the kidnapping case. Everything else is beyond my jurisdiction. After a pause he continued. If this prince interferes in the affairs of the Jianghu, wouldn't that be breaking the rules? Father Bai frowned. As a prince, Fu Irue represented the imperial court. It was indeed inappropriate for him to interfere. However, he hadn't brought many men with him, and he'd lost quite a few last time. If he had to face off against so many devil sect disciples. Fourth Imperial Prince, I can consider the matter of the weapons you mentioned last time. Hidden Sword Manor was the only faction that didn't belong to the imperial court, but provided them with weapons. The fourth Imperial Prince had already mentioned it to him twice. He hadn't agreed before, but he had no choice now. This woman Wu Jing had to be eliminated. Otherwise, the Jianghu wouldn't be peaceful in the future. Fu Irue's gaze was as malicious as a poisonous snake's. Will Manor Head Bai keep his word? Of course. Father Bai's expression darkened. Good. What good? He said he'd consider it, but he didn't say he'd definitely give it to you. When the time comes and you're done helping him, he'll find an excuse to reject you. He might even sell out the fact that you privately bought weapons to the imperial court. Fourth Imperial Prince, you'd better be careful. The Shisheng's sinister voice rang out. Fu Irue looked at the Shisheng with a measuring gaze. It wasn't the kind of gaze one would look at a beautiful woman, but rather a deeper one. She dared to say anything. He wouldn't dare. Fu Irue's lips curled into a cruel smile. Wu Jing, if you consider following me, I can spare your life. If you kneel down and call me ancestor, I can send you to the throne. She dared to show off in front of his pretentious ancestor? She was looking for trouble. Fu Irue. It wasn't that she dared to say anything, but there was probably nothing she didn't dare to say. Did she think the throne was a cabbage that could be easily given away? If the throne was so easy to obtain, he wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble. This woman was too arrogant and conceited. Fourth Imperial Prince, Father Bai reminded him. Fu Irue raised his hand, and the troops behind him immediately drew their swords. The moment Fu Irue's hand fell, the troops instantly surged toward the Shisheng. The Shisheng looked at Fu Irue through the crowd, his gaze as calm as a cold lake. It was as if he had blocked out the sounds of fighting in front of him, causing no ripples in his eyes. There wasn't even a trace of anger. Fu Irue suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Like a venomous snake, it slowly coiled around his neck and tightened. His heart raced, and he found it difficult to breathe. He didn't even feel this strange when facing his imperial father. That's right, it wasn't pressure. It was a very strange feeling. He took a step back, and the Shisheng moved at this moment. He suddenly appeared and waved his iron sword. The people charging in front of him fell without warning. Sect leader is mighty. Sect leader is mighty. When the Shisheng moved, the demon sect members took the initiative to give up the battlefield and ran to the side to cheer for him. The Shisheng was speechless. These idiots. There were so many people. How long would it take for I to kill all of them? F***CK. The Shisheng took out a small ball that he hadn't used in a long time and threw it over. The sound of the explosion and screams mixed together. A group of devil sect members were dumbfounded. JPG sect leader, where did you get such an awesome thing? Nothing was left of them after the explosion. Hashtag my sect leader actually carries explosives with him. Hashtag after the explosion, there was a flash of lightning and a deep pit. Is this an explosive? Hashtag asterisk votes votes votes. Chapter 408. It felt good to throw them, but it was a tragedy for Shisheng after that. She heard the sound of thunder in the sky. She had only thrown 3 of them. She hadn't reached the upper level yet. Heavenly Tao, why didn't you follow the rules? Shisheng hurriedly killed the last few people and took down Father Bai and Fu Irue. Tie these people up and wait for me to come back. Shisheng hurriedly left after saying that. She didn't want to be struck into charcoal in front of these idiots. After leaving their line of sight, Shisheng sat on the iron sword and rushed to a deserted mountain range. Many thunderclouds had gathered above her head. They were dark and dense, and purple lightning flashed in them. It was a shocking sight to behold. Shisheng swallowed and quickly put on all kinds of clothes and magic treasures. In the Xianxia world, the iron sword could absorb these heavenly lightning, but it was better to be safe. If she got struck, no one would pay her compensation for the injury. When she was dressed, the lightning in the sky fell. Probably because there was no spiritual energy in this world. The power of the lightning was not as strong as in other worlds. When it struck Shisheng, all her hair stood up. The magic treasures on her body blocked all the lightning, except for her hair. But the feeling of the electric current flowing through her body was very uncomfortable. When the next batch of lightning fell, Shisheng decisively blocked it with the iron sword. The iron sword refused to give up. When the lightning struck it, Shisheng could not feel the electric current. When the lightning stopped, the heavenly Tao was not convinced. The thunderclouds did not disperse for a long time, as if they were going to strike again. Rumble. The sound of thunder resounded through the sky, and the ground seemed to tremble. Shisheng pointed the iron sword at the sky. That's enough. You're not convinced after the first strike and you want to strike again? Who taught you this rule? The sound of thunder gradually faded. After a while, the thunderclouds reluctantly dispersed. Shisheng sat on the ground. His arms were so sore that he could not lift them. Shisheng looked at the iron sword. There was still a small electric current running along the blade of the iron sword, bringing with it sparks. Shisheng didn't know if it was because of the lightning, but he felt that her sword seemed to be brighter than usual. Waiting for the electric current covering the iron sword to disappear, Shisheng held the iron sword and examined it several times. It was no different from before. Was he really blinded by the flash? Have you become more powerful? Shisheng flicked his iron sword. Buzz. The iron sword trembled. Shisheng frowned slightly. You want blood? Buzz. Shisheng rolled up his sleeves. Without hesitation, he slit his sleeve and dripped his blood onto the iron sword. But the blood slid down the blade. Wang. The iron sword trembled violently. No. Shisheng slowly wrapped the wound on his wrist. If her blood didn't work, what blood did he need? Shisheng suddenly thought of Jiangzhan. Did he need his blood? Buzz buzz. The iron sword seemed to agree with Shisheng's idea. Shisheng was a little scared. This sword was stained with the blood of the 4 people. It looked as if it wanted to kill the whole world. Buzz 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 buzz. The iron sword transmitted its consciousness to Shisheng. Upgrade? You can still upgrade? After upgrading, what will you be? Can you become a transformer? The iron sword. After upgrading, it would still be a sword. Master, you are thinking too much. Shisheng decided to go back and let Jiangzhan bleed. He had to see how powerful this awesome sword was after upgrading. When Shisheng returned, the group of idiots from the demon sect were already eating barbecued meat together. The righteous sects were all tied together. Their faces were filled with hatred. They wanted nothing more than to pounce on the demon sect members who were eating meat in front of them. Shisheng could smell the aroma from afar. After being struck by lightning, Shisheng urgently needed to eat something to calm down. He walked over and snatched a piece of meat from one of the demon sect members who was about to put it into his mouth. He stuffed it into his mouth. Sect leader. The man turned around and fell to the ground as if he had seen a ghost. Shisheng bit the meat and looked at him in confusion. She had only gone out for a trip, but she had become so scary. Ting Feng was sitting across from the demon sect member. When he saw Shisheng, he choked on his saliva and coughed violently. Cough cough. Sect leader, what kind of hairstyle and outfit are you wearing? So the sect leader had left in a hurry just now to change her clothes and hairstyle? Shisheng looked at him in confusion. Ting Feng pointed at the top of her head. Shisheng reached out to touch it. Time seemed to stop at that moment. After a long while, Shisheng calmly put down his hand. What do you think? Don't I look like the demon sect's sect leader? Shisheng's heart was about to break down. Damn it. Look like the demon sect's sect leader, my ass. Shisheng had been so focused on the iron sword that he had completely forgotten about his clothes and hair. Ting Feng was still coughing. The other demon sect members chimed in, but their sect leader looked so scary that they couldn't bear to look at her. Shisheng calmly smoothed out his hair. He didn't care about his clothes since they weren't that ugly anyway. Only then did the demon sect members let out a sigh of relief. If their sect leader really had such a hairstyle, the scene was too beautiful. After Shisheng finished eating the roasted meat the demon sect members had offered him, he picked up a chair and sat down in front of the tied-up group. Zhong Weiwei had been specially taken care of by the demon sect's single dogs, so she wasn't tied up, and was even given a chair to sit on. Shen Xinghai was tied up alone and thrown next to Zhong Weiwei. Wu Jingyalu, if you want to touch her naked, get out of my way. Shisheng translated for the people who had shouted. Which Wu Jing, what are you trying to do? Let us go. It wasn't easy to catch them, so wouldn't it be embarrassing to let them go just like that? Shisheng didn't know what kind of poison he had used, but it was something that the original owner had always carried with her. She had tested it on those who wanted to kill her before. They wouldn't die, but their bodies would go limp and they wouldn't be able to speak properly. They could use their internal energy, but they couldn't even stand up. Their internal energy was useless. We'll auction it off. Shisheng smiled at the group. Auction? Auction what? Everyone looked at each other. What kind of trick was this witch playing now? The highest bidder gets it. Shisheng pointed at the weapons on the side. Everyone. What the F***ck, those weapons were theirs. Yet they wanted to use money to buy their own things. Shisheng had his men hold the weapons one by one and twirl them around in front of them, as if they were on a show. In the end, they began to auction off the weapons one by one. These people's weapons were all good stuff. They were priceless, so no one was willing to buy them at first. These weapons were theirs to begin with, so there was no reason for them to use money to buy them. In the end, Shisheng took the sword and started to destroy it. This time, those people couldn't hold themselves back. If they didn't bid, there would be no more weapons. Other than the first weapon that was destroyed, the rest were all sold at high prices. The demon sect didn't have to eat dirt for a while. The last sword was the meteor sword, which they had obtained from Fuirue. The meteor sword was ranked third on the weapons list. Its power was undeniable. This group of people had gone all out to bid for the meteor sword. However, no matter how rich they were, they couldn't compare to Fuirue. In the end, the sword returned to Fuirue. Please bring your money to the demon sect to collect it. Alright, you can leave now. Everyone. Leave my ass. Give us the antidote. Shisheng slapped his forehead. I don't know what the antidote is, but it won't kill you. Don't worry. Asterisk votes. Chapter 409. Shisheng walked in front of Shen Xinghai and threw his sword at him. Second young master Shen, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't bring this little beauty around in front of me, or else. Shisheng's gaze was vicious. Shen Xinghai was confused. Did Weiwei offend her? As a result, Shisheng turned to look at Zhong Weiwei with a warm expression. Shen Xinghai. So he offended her? Shen Xinghai didn't really understand Shisheng's thoughts. Shen Xinghai didn't even react when she brought a group of chattering disciples up the mountain. That was it. Why did it feel so unreal? Zhong Weiwei wasn't tied up. After Shisheng left, she helped untie Shen Xinghai, but because she didn't have much strength, it took her a long time to untie him. Shisheng heard from the disciples that Zhong Weiwei killed Zhong Han with her own hands. Zhong Han killed her father, so it was natural for her to kill him. Those people stayed at the foot of the mountain for 2 days before recovering their strength. No one dared to go up the mountain to cause trouble, so they all went home to get money to redistribute their weapons. For a long time, the demon sect was very lively. The so-called counting money until one's hands twitched could probably describe the demon sect members' feelings right now. The sect leader got so much money without any effort. It was enough for them to eat meat for a long time. The demon sect members were happy, but there were also some who weren't. Those who bought good things were the most nervous. Not only did they have to be wary of the original owner, but they also had to be wary of people who were more powerful than them. They weren't safe at all. It took a long time for the people of the Jianghu to understand Shisheng's sinister intentions. However, Shisheng only wanted to make a fortune at that time. Father Bai had been waiting at the foot of the demon sect's mountain, wanting to see Bai Luo. Bai Luo's memory loss showed no signs of improving. Although she met Father Bai, she didn't want to leave with him. She trusted the demon sect more now. Father Bai wasn't someone who idled around all day. He still had things to take care of. He saw that Bai Luo was really doing well in the demon sect, so he gave Shisheng a few boxes of silver and asked him to take good care of Bai Luo. His daughter was there. Sai, even if it was the demon sect, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't beat him in a fight, so he could only bribe him. Bai Luo had always been the most beautiful woman in the demon sect. A bunch of single dogs worshipped her like a goddess, and no one was allowed to profane her. Shisheng was speechless. Was she the sect leader, just air? In any case, she was still as beautiful as a flower. The cult members expressed that the cult master belonged to the previous cult master, and they did not dare to encroach upon him. Speaking of Jiangzhan, Shisheng was a little angry. That guy had been in seclusion for 3 months. Her sword was already thirsting for blood, alright? Shisheng had recently shifted his position and stood guard outside the secret room where Jiangzhan was in seclusion. Half a year later, Shisheng waited until mushrooms grew on his head before the closed stone door was opened. The moment Jiangzhan came out, he saw Shisheng and was stunned. Why are you here? She was actually waiting for me outside. She was actually waiting for me outside. Ha ha ha. I knew that she would definitely bow down to Ai's beauty. Shisheng had no idea what was going on in Jiangzhan's mind. Right now, she only wanted to bleed. Therefore, Shisheng directly pounced on him. How passionate. Since you're so passionate, I will reluctantly give you a hug. But before he could hug her, he felt a chill on his wrist. A gleaming iron sword was resting on his wrist, and he subconsciously used his internal energy to shake it. In Shisheng's eyes, Jiangzhan was a piece of trash, but this time, it was completely different. She only felt an earth-shattering force sweeping toward her. The iron sword buzzed from the impact. Shisheng was sent flying by the shock wave. Shisheng looked at the person standing in front of the stone door in disbelief. Jiangzhan, did you eat spinach or something? Soon, she could no longer see him. Only the whistling wind could be heard, constantly slapping her body and cheeks. F***ck your uncle. Behind him was a cliff. Jiangzhan obviously did not expect the force to be so great. After Shisheng fell, his expression changed and he jumped down as well. As soon as he jumped down, a figure rushed up from below and almost knocked him over. When he looked again, the figure below him had already disappeared. He hurriedly stepped on the rocks of the cliff and jumped up. Before he could steady himself, the cold glint of the iron sword came straight at him. Crazy woman, what are you doing? Jiangzhan was furious that she wanted to cut him as soon as he came out. He threw his previous excitement to the back of his mind. I'm letting out some blood, Shisheng said calmly. Come here and let me cut you. Crazy woman. How could Jiangzhan be willing? He jumped down the cliff again. He did not like this kind of crazy woman. She let out his blood as soon as she came up. Jiangzhan realized that the whole world had changed after he went into seclusion for a few months. Not only did the demon sect have beautiful houses, but their food and clothing had also evolved from poor people to rich people. How many people did that crazy woman take her followers down the mountain and rob? Sect master, you really succeeded? Ting Feng surrounded Jiangzhan with a face full of curiosity and shock. No one had ever reached the 9th level of the Nether Mantra. Who am I? There was nothing he could not do. It's useless, Guyu gave a short but powerful comment. Jiangzhan shouted. What do you mean it's useless? Guyu, let's fight right now. See, I's not that easy to bully. In the past, he couldn't even beat his own enforcer, but it was different now. He was the man standing at the peak. Guyu did not immediately agree. Instead, She gave him a meaningful look and flew up, landing on a nearby roof, and beginning to absorb the essence of the sun and moon. Jiang Zhan. What did she mean? Was she looking down on him? Seeing that Jiang Zhan was about to get angry, Ting Feng quickly comforted him. Sect Master, calm down. What Guyu means is that no one dares to cause trouble for the demon sect now. Your skills are useless. That should be what Guyu meant. Yes, that must be it. Ting Feng affirmed himself in his heart. Has the demon sect turned over a new leaf? Jiang Zhan asked after a while. Those people actually did not cause trouble for the demon sect? Ting Feng shook his head. They definitely did not turn over a new leaf. They were afraid of Miss Wu Zheng. Ting Feng reported the events of the past few months to Jiang Zhan, then changed the topic. Right, Sect Master, did you not see Miss Wu Zheng? She should be up there, right? Jiang Zhan, who had yet to roar, reacted as if someone had lit him on fire. The moment I came out, she attacked I with her sword. What do you think she's doing? Ting Feng. So why did I change the topic just now? I still exploded. How was he supposed to know why Miss Wu Zheng attacked him? Ting Feng also wanted to learn from Guyu and go up to the roof to absorb the essence of the sun and moon. Jiang Zhan pulled Ting Feng aside and said angrily, Ting Feng, listen to me. She's a girl, but she's so violent all the time. Will she be able to get married in the future? Don't we still have you, Sect Master? No one can stand her temper. Yes. Only you can. Let me go. I want to go up to the roof for some peace and quiet. Ting Feng caught sight of Jiang Zhan from the corner of his eye and froze. He did not care that his sect master was still nagging at him and ran away. Ting Feng, are you rebelling? How dare you run away? Come back. Ting Feng would rather die than go back. Miss Wu Zheng's aggressive manner made it seem like she was going to kill someone. He could vaguely hear Jiang Zhan stomping his feet in the distance. Ah, Wu Zheng, you ambushed me. Ow. Chapter 410. The demon sect was in chaos almost every day. Sheng realized that ever since Jiang Zhan came out of seclusion, he seemed to have leveled up. In a fair duel, Sheng was no match for Jiang Zhan. It was even harder for her to let him bleed. The two of them sat at opposite ends of the long wooden table. The atmosphere was strange. Sheng broke the silence and asked directly, What do I have to do for you to let me bleed? What do you want my blood for? She had been chasing him for blood ever since he came out. He wasn't an animal. Feed it to the sword. If the iron sword didn't want your blood, do you think I'd like to chase you around all day? Jiang Zhan. Her so-called best sword in the world? She wanted to feed her sword with his blood. She should be the world's most despicable B*TCH. Jiang Zhan took a deep breath. You can have my blood, but marry me. Slap. Sheng slapped the table. No. He wasn't Feng Xi. She wasn't willing. Even if it was a fake marriage, she still felt like betrayal. Then don't ask for my blood. Sheng. She was actually threatening him with that. Jiang Zhan got up, walked around the table, and walked to Sheng. He placed his palms on the table and leaned over to look at Sheng. Why? Why wasn't she willing to marry him? You're not the person I like. Then who do you like? Jiang Zhan raised his voice. Who did she like? Shen Xinghai? Sheng frowned. What does it have to do with you? Of course it does. Jiang Zhan gritted his teeth. I like you. She hadn't left the demon sect for a long time. Ting Feng also said that she hadn't had any intimate contact with other men. Shen Xinghai was the only one. It had to be him. I'll be better than him. Jiang Zhan roared, then hurried out of the hall. Sheng. You don't even know him. How can you be better than him? A month later, Shen Xinghai sent someone to deliver a letter asking Sheng to drag the crazy Jiang Zhan back. Shen Xinghai was very innocent. He was being pursued by Jiang Zhan for no reason, and had no idea what was going on. Sheng was impressed by Jiang Zhan's imagination. Sheng personally went to get Jiang Zhan back, wishing he could slap him to death. Have you had enough? No. Sheng had a headache. He said in a low voice, I don't like Shen Xinghai, and I don't like you either. Jiang Zhan frowned. He heard her voice slowly ring out. Feelings can't be forced. Even if I agree to marry you, we won't be happy. People are selfish, and I'm the same. I'm even more selfish than ordinary people. The person I like isn't here, but I'll go find him. Jiangzhan, you'll meet someone better, Shisheng said earnestly. Give me some blood. Jiangzhan was startled awake by the last sentence. He angrily slammed the table. No door, no window. Then he flicked his sleeves and left. Shisheng. Later on, Jiangzhan learned how to chase after girls from God knows where, and he used all of them on Shisheng. Shisheng tried to get a few girls for Jiangzhan, but none of them succeeded in hooking up with Jiangzhan. The one I like is you. Don't find me those girls. Whether you accept me or not has nothing to do with whether I chase you or not. Shisheng was a bit helpless. In the end, he didn't even want his blood and left home. When a person was too good to himself, he would become dependent on him. The sooner he broke up, the better. Jiangzhan once again became the demon sex leader. Thus, the demon sex style became searching for the demon sex madam all over the world. But no one had ever seen that so-called demon sex madam. There was no antidote for the poison in Fu Yun's body, and he had to endure all kinds of pain and torment every day. He didn't die, and instead managed to live on. But it wasn't easy to survive. Every once in a while, the poison in his body would act up. At those times, he even had thoughts of dying. The more this happened, the more Fu Yun hated Lu Su. His face had become ugly because of the poison, so he could only wear a mask. He had participated in the struggle for the throne, but had failed in the end. The one who had succeeded wasn't Fu Yirue, who had always viewed him as a thorn in his side, but the seventh prince. That mediocre seventh prince who hadn't accomplished much. No one knew how the seventh prince had succeeded in ascending to the throne. By the time they realized what had happened, the seventh prince had already become the emperor, and all the power was in his hands. Fu Yirue had been beheaded, while Fu Yun had escaped because he was already crippled. He was given the title of an idle prince and placed under house arrest in his fief. Your Highness, it's cold. Let's go back. The hustle and bustle of the crowd could be heard incessantly. Fu Yun sat in his wheelchair, looking at the lively scene in front of him. His face behind his mask was gloomy. Let's go back. The person standing next to Fu Yun immediately pushed him back. As they passed by an alley, they heard someone cursing angrily. Stinking woman. I told you to earn money, but you ran here to hook up with men. Slut. Who told you to hook up with men? From Fu Yun's angle, he could see the scene in the alley. A man was currently kicking and punching a woman. The woman was beaten viciously and began to fight back, shrieking. Zhouji, what else do you know besides eating, drinking, whoring and gambling? Why should I earn money to support you? Why should I? Zhouji laughed sinisterly, grabbing the woman and beating her up again. If not for a slut like you, I would be living a good life in the demon sect. How could I have ended up like this? Now that the demon sect dominated the pugilistic world, who dared to be impudent? If not for this woman seducing him back then, how could he have left the demon sect? In the end, this woman turned around and sold him out after seeing an even better-looking gigolo. If not for his luck, he wouldn't be alive right now. Pa. Back then, you were the one who saw my beauty and wanted to leave with me. Ah. Lu Su screamed and covered her hair, her heart filled with anger and hatred. She hadn't had a good time these past few years. Back then, when Fu Yirue had bestowed her to his subordinates, she had become their venting tool. Later on, Fu Yirue had died, and she had escaped with great difficulty, only to run into Zhouji. At that time, she was penniless and her martial arts had long been crippled. When Zhouji bumped into her, she had no choice but to be with him. Every day, he would torture her in bed in various ways, and usually he would punch and kick her. When Lu Su fought with him, she received even more severe beatings. However, Lu Su never gave up on escaping from him. She wanted to live. She didn't want to die. She didn't want to be with a man like Zhouji. Slut, who told you to run? Who told you to flirt with other men? The man was in the midst of beating her up when he suddenly felt a chill on his back. His movements froze, and he slowly lowered his head to look. A blood-stained weapon had pierced through his chest, and blood was dripping from it. Zhouji's gaze became unfocused, and his body slowly fell forward, right on top of Lu Su. Lu Su was already on the verge of death from the beating. Before she could see clearly who had saved her, she fainted. Good night. Thank you, Cherub, for your tips. While I'm at it, I'll ask for a monthly ticket. I'll ask for a tip. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.